Yeah, welcome to another fucking deep fat fried, you stupid cock-sucking motherfuckers.
What the fuck you want?
Suck a big fat dick, it's nice and long and thick. Suck a big fat dick until it makes you sick. You can suck a fat dick, oh yes it's true. You suck mine for me and I'll suck yours for you. Oh, suck a big fat dick like you know you want to.
Oh yeah, preach it, brother Paul. Suck that dick.
But Paul, if you show up, where's the big fat dick gonna be? Where's it at?
Oh, Scotty throwing some
You'll have to find out. You'll have to remain in suspense
I guess so.
until I drop the thunder hammer on you.
The thunder hammer.
That's what everybody that's been with me has eventually come up with as the name for it.
You know, your dick is just the thunder hammer. I don't know what to say.
It's Mjolnir. It's Thor's hammer.
I see Paul's rewritten history.
You know, history is
It was in sore need of a revision.
history is written by the victor, you know?
I guess so,
And I guess Paul is the victor.
Victor of what, though?
Really, the thunder hammer is the victor.
Yeah.
I'm just the guy that he's attached to.
I just wielded
The
it.
thunder hammer.
The hammer is here. You all right, TJ?
No.
TJ's like a bonobo or something.
A bonobo, huh?
I was watching videos the other day. Somebody it was a gibbon.
Oh,
A
a gibbon?
gibbon.
And they make the weirdest fucking noises for no reason.
Oh, cool.
They sound like normal monkeys 1 second, and then they're like,
I love it.
I was like, ugh.
TJ's a gibbon.
gibbon. That's a gibbon.
Oh, TJ.
Oh, TJ.
You witty piece of shit, TJ.
Ah, ho, 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 hee, hee, hee. So why are we here, Scotty? You summoned us to this location. What are we here for, Scotty?
Why have I been summoned?
Why have you awakened me from my slumber?
Oh, shit, dude.
Did you forget to pull an episode, Scotty?
No, man. I totally did not do that. I would never do that. I find that suggestion itself offensive, TJ.
What's your episode then?
It's... Okay, I got it.
Shit?
I mean,
It's shit?
no, shit. It's not shit. It's not shit. It's not shit. It's great. It's great, guys. Wait. It's about wait. No, it's not. It's about games.
Games.
Top classic games or something.
Yes. Okay.
They're classic and they're good because they're old and nostalgia and stuff.
Oh, nostalgia.
And you feel warm and fuzzy inside, and you think like, I was a dumb little kid once, and I actually liked this shit, and it was good, or maybe it wasn't good.
the top 10 classic
this is
video games.
This is like our top 10 classic fucking games.
Back when games was good,
When they was
boy.
when they was good, and TJ could understand them.
Back when a game was a game and not this bullshit.
In this episode, 3 old men boomers reminisce about games that everybody thinks are lame now.
Yep.
Now, this is a big retro game movement. So I said, for this list, we will argue about which games lay claim to our childhood and teenage years. We will not be limiting this list to a single console or system. For games released on multiple consoles, we will ask that you specify which version was your favorite. And also, here's another thing. We will only consider games made between 1980 and 2005. This represents the when the oldest pessimist was born until the last one turned 18.
Oh, okay.
Got it.
Roger that.
So there's some games that just happen to come out in 2005 that make the cut, and there's some games that, unfortunately did not make the cut.
I think you're crazy.
I think I'm crazy.
I think you're fucking crazy, boy.
Based on what, TJ? What has made you ever fucking think I'm fucking crazy, TJ?
I think you're
I'm not
fucking
fucking
crazy.
crazy.
You're fucking crazy, Scotty.
TJ, I'm going to assault you now.
Scotty's fucking insane.
Don't assault me. Don't assault. Hey, Scotty, don't assault me.
That's what a crazy
Do my
person would do.
Aikido position.
Oh, yeah, TJ heard that that's an actual position
I did.
to take
I did hear
defensively.
that. But I naturally knew it because I'm just like,
TJ, are you ready?
what? No, I'm not ready.
Tell me when you're ready for my attack.
I don't want to be. I don't want you to attack me. Just don't do it.
Punch him right in the mouth.
Don't punch me in the mouth.
The reality is I'm going to attack you.
Don't punch me in the mouth.
Right in the mouth.
Don't do it.
You're not really blocking.
Why don't you ever attack Paul? Attack Paul. He's right there next to you.
Because how could you bring me any lower than I already am? You know what I mean?
Why beat a whip dog?
Oh, man.
Punching me in the face would be like improving my lot in life.
Oh. Ow. Don't. That's annoying. Stop it.
I just haven't hurt you
Stop
badly.
doing this. I don't want it. Get out of here.
Get out of here! You're fucking annoying
Fucking
me.
goddamn piece of shit, man.
I gotta say, I'm gonna lean pretty heavily on you guys for this episode because I didn't have much time to play video games. I was too busy fucking the prom queen. You know what I mean?
I
Too
doubt
busy
that.
out there being popular.
I am dubious of this claim. So this is the Nintendo. We're gonna go by system, I guess.
Yeah, like I figured that'd be a rough way to start compiling the list, and I took the obviously as a courtesy to you guys, I compiled some of I think they're the classic games,
Some games.
games that I really enjoyed. I think you guys.
So
will
maybe we'll go
probably
through the
agree.
ones you pulled for each system, and then we'll think about whether or not there's any others that should be considered from that
Yes.
system. All right, so what do you got for this one? You got fucking Super Mario
I
Brothers.
mean, this one is the fucking classic, dude.
This is the this is like the I mean, this is the ultimate classic of classic titles. You know,
It's
I mean,
also got the most humiliating moment in video gaming built right at the beginning.
Oh.
You die to the first Goomba, you're literally the loser of losers. You'll never feel worse in a video game.
I mean, it's happened.
Yeah.
It's happened to me.
Oh, yeah, for sure. You get that hubris in you. You jump a little too early and you land right in front of the Goomba.
Oh yeah.
You ever like jump into the Goomba?
Oh, yeah.
I've done it all. I've run into the Goomba. I've missed time to jump.
I don't think I've ever just been so blithely stupid as to just run into the Goomba, but I think I've jumped too late or too early a few times.
I've hit that brick right over the Goomba
Oh,
and
yeah.
bounced down into him. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. And then you bounce right into his path,
Yep.
and the motherfucker takes you out, and you're like, God damn it, I just got killed by the first fucking Goomba. in
I've
Mario
waited
Brothers.
for the Goomba to hit that fucking question block right there and done the same thing. Like bounced off the question block and thinking I was going to land on him, but I'm just a fraction of a second too early.
You have to give a compliment to the developers and programmers of this game, though, because for that reason, you understand very early on like what this game is about. Because plenty of people, you know, this maybe was the first game like this they ever played. So it's like you jump and it's like, okay, shit, I'm dead. What the fuck? And it kind of sets the tone for like how a lot of NES games were, just trial and error. Like you don't know what the fuck you're just gonna. In this game especially, because you couldn't go backwards. Like once you advance to a certain point, you can't go back.
Oh yeah, that was always kind of annoying.
Yeah, you can't go back and get shit. You got to deal with each screen as it comes up.
Yeah, there's no backtrack. There's no like, oh shit, I'm gonna go back and get that block. Oh
and
no,
if you
I
fuck
can't.
up,
Nope.
you're going back. You're going back to the very fucking beginning of the level. You try again, bitch.
So in my mind, a strong contender. For
You
one
know,
of the
and
top
I mean, like
games.
for an early game, I mean, like for an early game like this, I'd say, you know, it's like it kind of surprises me the variety of enemies they came up with, considering this is like really one of the fucking first platformers. I mean, obviously there was some stuff before this on like the Atari and shit that was kind of like platforms and stuff,
And the fact a lot of
like
those
Pitfall and things.
a lot of those characters have continued on to this day.
But there's like such a crazy variety of enemies for the time frame and shit.
Oh yeah.
And you know, they all have different little patterns and different things you have to learn and different rules that like govern how, you know, they exist in the world and
There's
all that.
definitely a best way to deal with each enemy.
Oh yeah.
Some of them easier than others. The humble Goomba here, you just got to stomp on that motherfucker. But the
Smash
hammer
him.
bro,
Oh,
The Hammer Brother, that was the bitch.
I mean, you got to know what you're doing. You got to be aware of where those fucking hammers are in the air.
And you know, there's a pretty random ass pattern they throw them in too. So it's not like you can like just kind of adjust to it. You got to kind of just use a little bit of instinct with that shit.
Yep.
You know, the one that always pissed me off was that motherfucker up in the cloud.
Lakitu.
Oh, fuck you, dude.
Yeah.
I fucking hate that.
Threw down those
motherfucker.
little spiky motherfuckers. I don't know what they're called.
Yeah. Yeah, the spinies.
Yeah.
I know all the names of all the shit in this game, dude.
There you go.
You had to when you were a kid.
Oh yeah, talk about it, right? Yeah.
Lakitu, you got to know, dude. He was out to get you. There are some times when he would throw that fucking little spiny ball right when you were in midair in
And
a
there's
jump.
there's no
Nothing
way to
you can
fucking
do.
do. Yeah.
It's just he tossed it perfect.
One of the things this game really got right, like really fucking compared to like a lot of fucking games, even fucking games that came out well after this that were platformers, was it really got the jump controls just
Yeah.
fucking really right.
I think that's what made it stand out.
So many of these older games, yeah, the jumping.
Because
is
like jumping in
horrible.
games, like especially during this era, like a lot of times it was just fucking awful.
Well, it was like you jumped and you committed to one single forward animation. And this game allowed you to fine-tune your jump in midair.
Yeah, and you could kind of adjust your jump, like you know, like that situation you're talking about, where you might be able to get out of that because you could kind of steer the jump a little. It wasn't like you could really like you couldn't like totally change direction in midair, but you could kind of influence the way the jump happened. You know,
I really found that when I played, I often found myself like landing backwards a lot because you would commit to that jump and then kind of fine-tune it in midair, and you'd end up facing the other way because you were pulling back a little bit on the jump to hit that perfect precision jump.
yeah.
So, yeah, there's a lot of good stuff here. There's a lot of missed opportunities here, though, honestly. The boss battles were pretty much
Nothing.
just bullshit.
Just basically jump over him.
It's the same dragon guy, same Koopa every goddamn time.
And really, the games that followed, I mean, I guess Mario Brothers 2 had some boss variety.
It had a lot. That's why it's my favorite in the series, honestly.
When it came to 3, and we're talking, of course, of the American version of 2, not
Right.
the Japanese one, which was later released on the SNES as
Lost
like
World.
Lost Levels or whatever.
Yeah, lost.
But then in 3, they kind of went back to the whole uniformity of bosses thing, where every boss was kind of had the same pattern.
Sort of. I mean, there was a little bit of variety to the bosses in 3.
I would,
Yeah.
I would argue, we're getting to this later, but it would have to be Super Mario World until you got some actual real.
Well, I guess
bosses.
the Koopa kids each had their own kind of system.
Yeah,
But
they
there
had
was
some
a-
different stuff, but you beat them in the same way, really.
Yeah,
But there was
true.
all the interim castles had basically the same sort of Koopa boss
Yep.
thing that did its same pattern every time, and so there wasn't a whole lot of variety. To me, like the bosses in the Mario games didn't really start to get good until like the SNES versions. But
Some of those 2 bosses were pretty cool. You had the rat guy that would throw bombs at you.
Yeah,
and
that
you
was
had to
pretty
catch
neat.
his bombs.
and then you had to like try to time it right to get
Right.
the explosion to hit
Yeah,
him.
what were those dinosaur ones called? They were called like, oh fuck.
There was that 3-headed snake.
Yeah, they had a bunch of. The fucking character design for 2 was like that was pretty crazy.
I also liked the ability to pick different dudes with different like abilities and hindrances and stuff. Like everybody played different in 2, and that's something that you don't even see in 3. They like walked that back.
Yeah.
In 2, you had this huge like 4-man roster of people to choose
Yeah, you
from.
could be Mario, you could be Luigi, you could be Toad, you could
Peach.
be Peach, and each of them had their own different like set of abilities. And
Oh, everyone loved to play fucking Luigi, dude.
Mario had like he was like the most well-rounded of them.
Yeah, I mean, you could play through the whole game as Mario, probably the easiest. Toad didn't have the most. He didn't have the best power.
I didn't like
he just
Toad.
picked things faster.
Yeah, he was just a little faster on the draw, I guess.
But there were some specialists. Peach had that.
Dude,
float.
I mean, Peach was my shit because I loved how you could super control her jump.
There were definitely some levels where she just dominated.
Yeah, I mean, like, and that long floating jump. Luigi's jump was always like super awkward for me, where they kick his legs in the air and it gave it like kind of this weird like slow.
He's got the most
jump.
hang time. He's also got the highest vertical jump, and he's got like a little bit of a pause at the top of his jump.
Yeah.
So, yeah, very weird to control, but cool. Once you learned it, it was kind of swaggy to show off hey, I'm able to beat this stage with anybody you pick. So I liked that about 2. I thought 2 was a real good step up. 3 was a little disappointing for me, but that's only
Really?
because I watched The Wizard.
Yeah, I loved 3. I probably played. I mean, I love the fact that they introduced that map system, and that you could store items and
The end game stuff. They had like you have to match each like the stars or the mushrooms or whatever.
Yeah, they had little mini games and
I
stuff
don't like
in
all
it.
that. Took away
Ugh.
from the purity of the fucking
Oh,
game.
you're garbage, Paul.
Took away from the purity. God
Now,
damn it!
they have that match game in 2 too, at the end of every level.
Yeah, they did.
You get-
It's true.
Oh yeah, they did. Yeah, I guess.
You picked up enough coins in the dark world, and then you got rolls on that little match game.
That's true. So yeah, I mean like all the Mario games for the NES were pretty good. Then of course the Legend of Zelda. Man, trying to play this game as an adult,
This game's fucking hard. Dude.
it's a hard fucking game. It really
Look,
is. It's
I'm gonna-
brutal. It's
I'm-
kind of brutal.
I'm gonna say something about this game that's probably gonna get me, chased out of a lot of nerd conventions.
Get your ass kicked.
This game is bullshit.
This game is
Whoa.
bull.
The original Legend of Zelda was bullshit meant to sell Nintendo Power magazines, because there's some shit in this game where you'd have to be the luckiest fuck in the world to accidentally discover it. Like, there are whole like upgrade paths for the Master Sword that you have to put a bomb on a certain screen that looks like every other screen in a certain place, and then it blows. Like, how are you supposed to even know that's there?
Right? There's not even like
Yeah.
a hint.
There were a lot of games made like that, especially the NES and SNES eras. Where it was like there was shit like kneel down here with a red crystal, like in Castlevania. It's like and wait for a tornado to come. It's like what the fuck is this?
They were trying to get you to beg your mom to buy Nintendo Power and get the walkthroughs,
Well,
and they wouldn't even release the walkthroughs
And
all at once.
remember this too. They also had a hotline back
Yeah,
then.
oh,
There was
yeah.
like you could sit there and like pay a bunch of money to talk to someone that's gonna like give you tips and stuff.
They had hotlines, and they had special editions of Nintendo Power that were sold more like strategy guides, where you could buy the Zelda edition, and it was just all filled with tips and tricks, but it really wasn't tips and tricks. It was like, here's how you actually get the Master Sword.
Oh, yeah.
Here's how you find this item that's necessary to get through the game. You know what I mean? So I got to be honest with you. Looking back on this one, now there's some better ones in the franchise for sure. They got away from that, super like, hey, you have to have the strategy guide to get through this thing. But the first Zelda, kind of bullshit. Kind of overly hard, overly arcane. You got to kind of, it goes beyond trial and error. There's just some shit that you just have to know it's there to get, and I don't like that anymore.
I agree with you, but a lot of people, this started a huge fucking franchise that goes on to this day. It's beloved. It's like, yeah, I agree with you. A lot of these games back then the difficulty was just like insane, and even going beyond, like you said, trial and error, because like I remember playing some of these games, and just like you said, like I would get to a part and be like, I don't know what the fuck I'm doing. Where am I supposed to go?
It's like Mario, we were talking about before. Like every screen was the same when you hit it. You know what I mean? So, like, really, trial and error gameplay was possible with that. But with Zelda...
Yeah, the way the screen moves,
you had kind of a open world, and there wasn't a whole lot of guidance as to where you were supposed to be and where you were supposed to go next. After you got something, what do you do next? Well, you could go all the way back to the beginning. You could, go to some place that you don't even have the shit to open the fucking door yet.
Yeah, you just wander around aimlessly until something happens to you.
Like, I'm going to go down here and see what I'm doing here.
I accidentally found the entrance to a cave or whatever the hell. So yeah, it was a lot. It could be super cryptic for sure.
But it kind of pushed the boundary, I think, at that time too.
I remember it being frustrating. I just remember it being a game as a kid. I loved the music of it, and I loved the graphics and all the little characters in it. But I just remember being frustrated more than anything by Zelda.
And then there was the sequel with the weird side-scrolling Zelda.
Oh yeah, Zelda 2 was like.
Oh man.
And you want to talk about frustrating? That one would fucking.
Oh yeah, it was punishing.
Yeah, it would fucking I think if you died, it basically sent you back to the same place on the map every time and shit.
It was super punishing, super unforgiving, and didn't really have the best platformer controls.
No.
So it was,
they weren't really hideously.
No, they
bad,
weren't. They weren't like unplayably bad, but they were not as good.
They weren't like
Super
Mario level or nothing. And it's weird because the difficulty seems to like not be consistent across the game either.
You remember what killed you most in Zelda 2 was every time you took a hit, you flew back.
Yeah.
So you would take a hit and you would fall backwards a certain distance. And
same deal with this motherfucker.
How many people fucking fell into pits in this game? This game is like literally another example of a game.
So this is the original Castlevania.
We're looking at Castlevania here in case you're not looking at the screen.
The final boss battle.
Castlevania was another game that I found myself being pretty frustrated by.
So I'll tell you the truth is I never really played this game as a kid.
Never played the first Castlevania?
Yeah, I never really played too much of the first Castlevania. Like, I had some friends that had it, but I didn't have it, so...
Yeah, I played it, but I never really got that far in it. I would always just end up dying fairly early on in the game. Or maybe I beat the first little section, I'd go up, and then I would die there.
It was punishing to really die in these types of games. You had a certain amount of lives, and when that was over, you were back at the beginning of the fucking game.
Yeah, games are way more forgiving about that nowadays, at least for the most part.
Auto-saving now.
Auto-saves, and there were no infinite continues, and you didn't save your progress. You didn't get to keep trying a level until you beat it. If you got to that level, you had as many lives as it took you to get there.
Oh, well, Zelda, that's one thing we should have probably talked about there is the fact that it did have a save system. So you could actually save progress on Zelda, which was kind of revolutionary. Where the fuck? Oh, there we go. Castlevania. But yeah, I didn't really play this too much, so I'm kind of going to have to go on your basis on that one.
I played a lot of Castlevania, and it was just a frustrating game. It was one of those round-robin type of games where you'd sit and watch your friend play it until he lost all his lives, and then you'd jump in and give it a try.
Let me show you how a pro does it.
And nobody really I don't remember getting all that far in Castlevania when I was a kid, because eventually you'd get tired of going all the way back to the fucking beginning. So you just, I remember kind of giving up on Castlevania. I know I never beat it.
I think that's pretty much the story for most people.
I
like this. From Russia with fun.
From Russia with fun, huh?
The only thing that Russia's ever exported that was fun.
Yeah, I remember the Nintendo version of Tetris.
The relentless building block video puzzle.
Relentless. That's right. Relentless probably is the right word for any version of Tetris. I
gotta be honest with you. I didn't play this shit.
I played it.
I didn't play it.
I played it.
I was like, There are better uses of my time. There's no story in Tetris, and I think that's
No.
what really bothered me about it.
Stack
me-
block.
Yeah, I mean, like, it's a very Russian game. Stack block until you die. You know,
Yep.
it's like,
Yeah.
And I love Tetris. I always thought Tetris was for me like a metaphor for life, because it's like it starts off feeling very manageable, and then before you know it, everything's a fucking disaster. I played this game a lot. I played it a lot on Game Boy as well, but that's, I guess, a different
Our
story.
fucking dad was actually
Yeah.
really, really good at this game. Like, he would just sit there
Dad got fucking crazy good at this.
he played on Game Boy, remember?
Yeah, I think he maxed out the score that was
Yeah.
on the Game Boy before,
Yeah, he did.
or something like that. It was fucking crazy.
It's one of those games if you kind of just want to play it, and like I said, I mean, like some people you see, Paul, is like, oh, there's no story. Like, people like that fact they can just stack the blocks and play the game.
Yeah, I mean, this was definitely courting a different kind of gamer.
You can
than I
definitely, like, to me, Tetris is about, like, at some point you kind of shut your brain off and just, like, do it on
Play, yeah.
instinct, and like it kind of invokes like this Zen sort of feeling, because once you've grasped the rules, you can totally like be sitting there thinking about something else, or not even thinking at all, and just kind of reacting to blocks happening. This version of Tetris is kind of frustrating by modern standards, because you know, there's not as much, like, if once your fucking block hits the like, nowadays in Tetris, you can turn your block even after you've touched a surface. But
Yep.
here, it just whenever you touch the fucking surface,
Yeah,
it's
you're
locked.
done.
It's
Yep.
locked in place
It's done.
instantly. There's no give to it at all. There was no saving pieces for later. You had to play whatever piece you were given, even if it was a horrible piece. And you know, you weren't allowed to hold pieces and stuff like you are now. So this is a pretty unforgiving version of Tetris.
The real Russian version.
It was too stripped down for me. Like, if I had Tetris, which is a game where just a bunch of blocks fall from the sky, or a game where there's a dragon, you know what I mean, or a mech suit, or a blaster that I can wield.
Right. You want to get lost
You
in
know
that
what I mean?
fantasy
As
element.
a kid, there was just no selling this to me.
Right. See, I was a very different kid, I guess. And the next game, a game that I find tedious and annoying, but a lot of people love it.
Punch Out.
Punch Out.
I loved Punch Out. Yeah, when you talk about having big characters and shit, and a feeling of accomplishment when you finally were able to beat one of them,
Yeah.
this one had it all. It was kind of like Tetris, honestly,
I mean,
in terms of just a gauntlet of shit that you've got to kind of manipulate mechanically until you beat it. But
right. And I mean, the thing about this game is that it's totally a pattern recognition game. I mean, every one of these fighters has
A pattern.
a very like a certain pattern that they use, and if you memorize the pattern, you can beat them.
right.
It's all timing.
And so it really is an ultimate kind of trial and error, memorizing the pattern, getting the timing down, you know.
When I think about this game when it was out and popular, it was really kind of a benchmark game amongst me and my friends, because if you sat down and got your ass beat by Glass Joe, or
Oh,
really
fuck, dude.
any of the first 2 or 3 guys, like if you couldn't make it past the first 2 or 3 boxers with pretty much no problem, then you just weren't a serious dude. Like, get off the sticks and give it to somebody who's actually going to play. You know what I mean? You were just
Yeah.
expected to know how to pass at least a few of these dudes. You know, Soda Popinski was probably the first one where you were expected to, like, okay, if you take an L on Soda Popinski. But, like, you know, you weren't supposed to be losing to King Hippo. Because his pattern was pretty fucking easy to exploit. And I think this game ramped up in difficulty pretty well.
Oh, it did. I mean, like, I'll give it that. Each guy was a little bit harder than the last. And I mean, but I never got very far, and it wasn't really like a lack of skill. It was just like I would get so bored playing it.
It was also revolutionary in the fact that I can't think of another game that really, you know, had this as a perspective. You know, it was like a proto-fighting game.
Right.
But in the first person almost. Like, you were Little Mac and you're dodging these, you know,
And
as
you're,
they would come at you.
You're smaller than every single one of these guys.
Right. Well, you have to be because, you know,
Yeah,
you have
you're-
to be able to see them on
Yeah,
the screen.
and you're this little tiny dude that has to just win. Like, you can't, like, some of these guys, like, they'll knock you out in like 2 or 3 hits.
Oh,
so.
Mike Tyson.
Yeah,
fuck,
one
dude.
hit for him.
Mike Tyson hits you, you're done. You
I
gotta
mean-
fucking avoid his shit.
Making it to Mike Tyson, I got to be honest with you. Making it to Mike Tyson alone was a feat in this game because some of the
yeah.
dudes that preceded Mike Tyson, like Mr. Sandman in the top left there, he was a real skill check because he was fast, had a lot of really kind of unpredictable moves when you first started playing him, and he could take you down even if you knew his pattern. Bald Bull was one of those guys. it really was your own hubris that beat you against Bald Bull. Because everybody knew that if you punched it, gave him a stomach punch just at the right moment during his bull charge, you get an instant knockout. But how many, I can't count how many times he's knocked me the fuck out with that bull charge.
Right, because
It was a
the
huge
timing
gamble.
is
Right.
fucking down to the gnat's ass. I don't remember how far I ever got in this. I think I got about halfway maybe.
I never beat Tyson. I never beat Mike Tyson.
I know. I never got to Tyson.
But I got to Tyson.
I never got to him.
I was able to get to
But
Tyson.
like I said, I found this one kind of tedious. So it never really stuck with me too much. I'd play it here and there.
It's still a fun game, though. I think it's a game that's like fun to get in there and play. But like you're right, most people are probably gonna get about 3 or 4 guys in, and just they're not gonna be able to beat them, and just like, I don't really want to invest much more time. It really did inspire a lot of like. Remember the arcade games where you would actually like physically the controllers are kind of made like
Yeah.
boxing gloves. So this really was an influential game in the fighting, especially in that kind of fight. Like there was a period like the 80s and 90s where this is kind of like the standard bearer for those kind of games.
Also a game you could play with the Power Glove, too.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, you could. There were Power
There's
Glove.
a documentary out right now about how bad the Power Glove actually
Yeah.
is.
I never owned a Power Glove, but I had a friend that had a Power Glove. And
sucked.
despite the fact that it sucked, I literally, as a kid, I thought it was the coolest fucking shit in the world. I assumed it was me that sucked. Like, when I put on the Power Glove and I couldn't control shit, I was just like, man,
That's a total kid thing, man.
I can't jockey the Power Glove well enough, man.
So what games are missing here from Scotty's NES picks?
The one that pops into my mind from the NES is Mega Man.
Yeah, Mega Man should definitely be.
Well, this
in
one all just
consideration.
this is all my picks. I made it. I kind of wanted this to be a basis to
Sure.
launch that. So, but yeah, I agree with you guys. Mega Man is definitely a game series that is just it's super difficult, but it's super fun, and you can learn how to beat the bosses. And these, like it's one of those games I feel with trial and error, and obviously the passcode system. You could get your stuff back if you.
It was
wrote down.
it was the first game that I remember playing that had a real sense of character growth as it went on. And that's something that's kind of implied in a lot of games now.
I'll put the Mega Man 2 title up because Mega Man 1 has a terrible box art.
I mean, this is not great box art either, but
Compared to the Mega Man 1 box
yeah,
art, though.
Yeah, you're right.
People are going to want to see that now.
Yeah, you got to show them the
Yeah, come on, dude.
insipid Mega Man 1
State of
box
the
art.
art, high resolution.
Unbelievably bad. Like, especially when considering what that franchise eventually became. Like, it's a joke. I mean, this looks like something fucking scrawled in like a high school student's fucking.
Yeah, it's terrible.
I mean, just look at this fucking piece of shit,
It's
dude.
fucking terrible. It looks
Yeah,
nothing like
that-
Mega Man.
1 megabit memory. Yeah, that's not Mega Man.
Oh my god.
Mega Man's got like a fucking 9, dude.
So I mean, like now looking back at this, like okay, this is not so bad.
And it doesn't really understand how Mega Man has a blaster for a hand. He's not really just shooting them.
Yeah,
with
like
a
it
gun.
took
Yeah.
him a while. It took a while for these artists to realize like he doesn't have a fucking ray gun in his hand.
No,
right?
This
his
is like very-
arm is a blaster.
It's like a 1950s science fiction film. You know what I mean? It has a kind of vibe to this cover art.
But out of all of the NES library, the Mega Man games were my favorite. And I think it was because it had that kind of like almost proto RPG type of element where when you beat a dude, you got his power. Like, so you beat a boss and it wasn't just like, oh, I get to move on to the next boss.
Yeah.
Which is really.
Plus, you could choose your own order through. I mean, there's a better order, like you know.
Of course,
but-
there's certain dudes that are weak to certain dudes' powers. It kind of like gave you a sense that there was, you had some choice
yeah.
in how you developed this character. And using the different weapons was always fun throughout the first 3 of these games. So I probably spent the most time in my childhood on the NES playing Mega Man games.
Absolutely. Metroid's probably another title that a lot of people like. I didn't really play it much.
See,
Mother brain.
Metroid was another one of those games that I felt was kind of bullshit, honestly. It was another game that I feel like was too heavily made to sell Nintendo Power magazines.
Oh yeah, the fucking that like those levels were like just labyrinth, man. And, like
There were
play-
certain levels where if you didn't know the right way to go through them, or you didn't know what weapon you were supposed to pick up from what false wall and what, it was just one of those games where I just felt like I had to do too much work to get through it. It didn't lead me kind of naturally through the skill challenge.
So this is a game I played a lot as
Oh
a kid.
shit,
This
dude.
DuckTales game.
DuckTales.
This
yeah.
got remade as like a fucking high def. Get out of here, Mega Man! You suck. This got remade as kind of like more like a high def game.
It
later
didn't
on.
do well, by the way.
the high def one.
Yeah, the high def one was not super well received amongst fans of the original.
Really, that's strange.
Yeah, so shocking.
Did they mess up the controls or something? What did
The
they do?
music wasn't as good. I guess you could unlock some of the original music, but they they kind of changed up the music. They added more like dialogue and shit.
Gross.
Where you would meet the characters and there would be like a little cutscene. It was just unneeded shit was sprinkled on top of what was a pretty awesome pick up and play kind of game.
Now, I was into a lot of fucking puzzle games, and probably my favorite one that I played a lot as a kid was Adventures of Lolo.
I never played it.
TJ
I played the shit out of this
he
game.
played this game so fucking much.
Including,
dude.
I also played the first sequel. I think there's actually more sequels, but yeah, this was like a big puzzle game, kind of disguised a little bit as an action game.
Yeah.
But it was like about manipulating the terrain to kind of give yourself an advantage over different enemies with different patterns that would behave in different ways.
Yeah, I somehow managed to never play this game. I don't think to this day, I don't think I've picked it up.
It's a fun little game to pick up and play. So if you have an
Yeah, I mean,
emulator,
the
dude,
puzzles
I
are
would
actually
recommend it.
still pretty good, if I remember correctly. It's been a long time. There was also was the Ninja Turtles arcade game adaptation for this?
Not for the NES, no. There was a Ninja Turtle game.
There was an arcade
for
game.
the NES, but it was that weird side scroller
God,
that
yeah.
had the top down turtle van
Right.
stage.
That was horrible. That was horrible.
Not a good game.
Both modes of the game were
I'm
horrible.
thinking of the one that begins in like the burning apartment building.
Turtles
and
in
stuff.
Time.
No, it was a precursor to Turtles in Time. It was before Turtles in Time. It was like the original arcade game of the Ninja Turtles.
Oh, well, the one that was actually in the arcades?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
And I know there was a home port of it. I don't know if it was for NES or SNES. I can't remember
I think
that.
the one you're talking about is, I want to say NES, but I'm not 100%.
Well, whatever. It should be talked about at any rate. But let's move on to the Super Nintendo because we got a few games for this that Scotty pulled.
This was
as
kind of
well.
common for the Super Nintendo. Would you be bundled with Super Mario World, which led to be one of the most high-selling games of all time, because it's one of the most highest-selling systems of all time.
I mean, everybody had to have this fucking system.
I think the highest-selling console of all time was the PS1 or 2.
I mean, like, I don't know about where Paul grew up, but where we grew up, if you didn't have this, you were a fucking loser.
Oh, dude, I didn't know a fucking kid that didn't have this fucking system.
There was this was really the beginning of the Bit Wars for me.
Yeah, and
Because-
you chose the Genesis side,
Right. But I do remember the first time I saw a Super Nintendo. I was in Costco with my mom, and they had a demo machine out, and some kid was playing Super Mario World, and I'd never seen anything like it. Like, it's hard to overstate because you look at it now, and it looks pretty rudimentary in comparison to what they can do now. I mean, you look at another side scroller like a precision platformer like Cuphead, and the animations are just silky. They look like a cartoon, you know.
Right, and
But
now-
that's
you
how
know,
I felt about this.
Oh, me too. When you saw this, this blew your fucking mind.
And I mean, it was just like they took everything about the Super Mario franchise and they dialed it up to 11. More powers, more secrets, more crazy bullshit. The rideable Yoshi was a huge deal because it just changed your character. It added some of that shit from Mega Man in, honestly, where you felt like there was loadouts for, Mario, and you could attack different levels in different ways. And it's just hard to overstate like how fucking awesome it was to see this for the first time.
This is one of the most replayable fucking games.
And I got to be honest with you, out of all of these consoles, I think this is the best controller. The Super NES controller, to this day, is one of my favorite. I mean, it was just so comfortable in the hand.
I'm telling you, that's one of the big reasons why a lot of people fucking preferred the system. Because they went to a Costco or a fucking Kmart or Walmart, and they fucked around on this, and it's like the controller is just way better than the Genesis controller. Like, even if you're a Genesis fan of the console more, or like it's better or whatever, no one was arguing the Genesis had a better controller.
Dude, the Genesis D-pad was horrible. It would give you blisters and shit. It was just too ridgy, and it was just this D-pad was the perfect combination of like precision and mushy, so your hand never got tired. The button layout became iconic. It's still how they do buttons. So if you look at an Xbox controller, you still have this diamond of buttons, 2 on top, 2 on bottom. And it was just the layout of this controller was great.
You never felt strained playing with it's the most natural fitting controller in your hands because
it's lightweight. It's not overly bulky in your hands.
But I never felt like I had to reach with that controller. Some later console controllers, you feel like you have to sometimes you're reaching or you're maneuvering in such a way.
Right.
It's just not. I don't really know. They've just never been able to replicate it as well.
No, it was definitely the best controller out of all of these that we're going to talk about today for sure. It was a long time before they made a better controller.
So Earthbound, I lost I lost a lot of my life playing this game.
I'll be honest with you. When I think of games that I just fucking absolutely love, I mean, this is like fondest childhood memory kind of gaming. This game is what comes to mind. It's just such an eclectic game that I've just never saw a game like up until this point. I kind of viewed games like, okay, when you play a game, it's like this. There's fantastical worlds and shit, and there's a lot of imagination. But this game kind of just like made me realize you could do a lot more with these platforms than people really.
In terms
I'd
of like
say,
storytelling,
yeah,
and
with the
shit.
storytelling,
and also just world building. It's like, I mean, like, and the fucking. It was the first game that I thought was like legitimately like this is funny. Like there were so many moments in the game that like had like this absurdist sort of philosophical bent to them, and the characters would always have something like it was the only game RPG I've ever played where I wanted to talk to everybody,
right,
to see what kind of shit that was going to come out of their mouths.
Oh god, dude!
Because it was like just a world populated by these insane neurotic people.
The enemy is like the crazy cat attacked you, so like it's just like you weren't expecting it. Like
you might fight like a fucking stop sign or a fucking like it was just ridiculous. Some of the fucking shit you'd fight in this game. You'd fight like a cup of espresso, fucking present. I mean, whatever the fuck.
Baseball jersey come to life.
Yeah, I mean, it was like anything was an enemy, you know? And I mean, it has a pretty cool storyline, and it had it's certainly a unique fucking sort of perspective and shit.
Definitely a quirky game.
I like how when you would save, you always call your dad, and your dad would give you money. Like I deposited 25. Like if you got a lot of experience, it would be like I deposited $20,000 into your bank account. You're like, sweet, I'm gonna go buy some shit.
I mean, there's a fucking angry video game nerd episode where he talks about this game, and he talks about some of the annoying aspects of this game, and he's absolutely right where he elucidates that. Like honestly, the save system for this game is a fucking annoyance. Having to call your dad and go through the same exact conversation every time.
I don't know.
The item screen has got a shit ton of problems. It's way too small. When you go buy something at a store, you can't just select to buy multiples. You have to literally go through the entire transaction every single time you buy an item. A lot of games did that, though. A lot of games did that. Yeah,
that's true.
Well, I mean, like a lot of games at this time had figured out how to fucking do an inventory system, and this one,
it
was a little lagging behind in that regard.
This game was expensive when it came out too. You guys remember that?
Because it came with a player's guide and stuff. And
it came with a bunch of shit,
yeah.
Scratch and sniff stickers of the enemies, so you could and you could actually use those in the game. There were certain enemies that had weaknesses based on how their stickers smelled. It came with like a big booklet that was more like a strategy guide for the game.
Yeah. I'll tell you what, to this day, I actually have this in my living room. It's like I have a bunch of other games, and I still have Earthbound, the original copy that we owned from fucking the 90s.
Yeah. This one was I didn't have a Super Nintendo until way later in its life cycle, so I saw friends play this, but I never got into it myself because I just didn't own it. I didn't have it at home.
So this is a game that you really. It's not a game you can just casually like. I'm gonna play a few minutes of Earthbound.
Yeah, dude, let's jump in and play Earthbound. Yeah, that's not how it works.
It's an involved fucking process. So is this one, for that matter of fact. This is another game that has a pretty cool storyline and shit. I always preferred this over the Final Fantasy game, Final Fantasy 3 in America. I forget what it is in Japan.
Like 5 or something.
Something like that. This is the one that everyone was creaming their pants over that, but I was way more into this.
Well, they both had a cool thing that a lot of RPGs don't really think about these days, which was you could play this with a friend. Like, you could have a friend, at least in battles, take control of one or two of the characters. And Final Fantasy III here in America, which is, that's what it is. Get over it. It's not 6, it's 3. Final Fantasy III had the same thing. Like in so it really kind of like took a game that probably would be pretty boring to just sit and watch a friend play and let two players get invested in the story at the same time, which was really cool.
Yeah, I mean, they had some really cool. They had a really good magic system in it. They had a really good inventory system. Like everything in this game that needed to work just did.
I don't remember.
The storyline was cool. The monsters were cool. The boss battles were cool.
Kind of introduced me to the idea of time travel too. Along with Back to the Future
and stuff.
You know what I mean? It was the first game that I remember time travel being a major part of, and being able to go back to the same places but at different eras in history was a really cool touch that, not in a lot of games.
Oh yeah, and being able to see occasionally how what you did in the past would affect the future.
Yeah,
and
give a sense of ownership over the world.
Having that expansive scope in the game, and very early on showing you kind of like the story hooks you immediately. It's interesting. You know, you get into this time travel thing, and like I just love you go into the future. It's like the future is shit, and you're kind of like so you're seeing all these different timelines play out in front of you. Like it's to me, like I don't know, it's just one of those games where everything clicks. Like I don't know, like even if there's faults to the game, which I'm sure there undoubtedly are. I've just, as time has gone on, I've just overlooked them and just say, like, well, this is one of my favorite games.
One of the best soundtracks
Another
to a
thing
game
is,
ever.
oh yeah, the music in the game is great. And another thing is, it does a really good job of building up Lavos as your like ultimate nemesis because
yeah, it does.
you find out about him pretty early on in the game, and you spend literally the entire game trying to piece together, how to defeat him, where he came from, and all this other stuff.
Well, it had this brilliant thing where, like, even though Lavos was hanging over everything you did in the game, most of the game you're fighting against Magus. You know what I mean? Like, Magus is the servant of Lavos, and he's, almost impossible to beat in and of himself. And so Lavos was always kind of hanging over that, and they did a really great job at finally revealing him and letting you fight him.
And then you can fucking get Magus to join your team and stuff, too. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah,
That is
if
pretty awesome.
you slay him, then Frog becomes human, or you can get Magus to join your team.
I don't give a fuck about Frog becoming human. I want
dark
matter,
dude.
motherfucker.
Yeah, I'm gonna say, you want dark matter, dude. That's a fucking amazing attack.
I don't know. I liked Frog, man.
Fuck Frog.
I wanted to help Frog out.
Fuck him in the ass.
He was
until
my
he's
favorite.
Dead. Fuck him in the ass until he's dead, Paul.
God damn.
Till he's dead.
It's brutal, TJ.
Donkey Kong Country. This game. Now, talk about a fucking game that's like the graphics were mind blowing at the time. I mean, like this. I mean, like obviously by today's standards, whatever.
Yeah,
but
dog shit, whatever.
But like back in my day, it was fucking really fucking gorgeous to look at, and like you'd never seen these kind of like 3D graphics before.
I will say this, dude. This is a fucking hard ass fucking game. Like it starts off pretty easily, then it ramps up quick.
It's definitely a tough game, but it has such great controls. It's another game
yeah,
where,
it
like,
does.
it looked great, and that would have carried it a certain amount of way. But
Yeah, if you fuck it up, it's your
actually
fault. But
playing
it's-
this game, yeah.
It's pretty easy to fuck it up though, because like some of the timing they
Oh
expect
my
you to have is
God.
just like, what the fuck, man.
But when you nail it, though, how good does it feel? You know what I mean? How good does it feel to get through one of those hard
Dude, like
parts?
not the first like red light, green light one, like their stop and go one, dude. The second stop and go level, that's one of the fucking man. Some of these levels, the ice levels when you get to in this game are just insanely difficult.
I hate ice levels in general. With
Yeah,
that,
the
like,
slip and slide shit.
yeah.
is
Now
bullshit.
now it's slippery. It's like, man, fuck you and your slippery
Dude,
shit.
the later ice levels, TJ, I'm telling you, man. Oh my fucking god, those are some of the most annoying fucking levels. Like some of them, I was stuck for like a day on a fucking level. It's insane. The bosses in this game, they're all pretty easy.
Yeah, they're kind of meh.
But I mean, when the game is so difficult,
Especially given how difficult some of the stages are, and then you get to the boss, and it's like, okay,
it's
breeze
almost
through that.
You know what? It's almost a relief though, because you fucking a lot of the levels, man. Unless you're just really good at this game, it's just like you endlessly grind to beat these fucking levels and have to memorize these crazy.
Plus, there's all
fucking
kinds of little
patterns.
secrets and shit hidden everywhere.
Yeah,
I
mean, there's so much shit.
Now we kind of talked about this one already a little bit, but
I mean, this is the fucking
player's choice.
what Super Mario Brothers is for the NES. This is for the Super Nintendo.
I mean, and this remains a very playable game to this day. Where
Man, you've played it recently.
yeah, I mean, like it still holds up in terms of its controls and its fun factor and shit. Obviously, the graphics are outdated by this point, but like it gets a lot of fundamental shit right that that a lot of games to this day don't get right. And I mean, I think the thing for me that really fucking sells it is just like it's really fun to play. I mean, like it ramps up the challenge very gradually to the point where, you're not ripping your fucking hair out trying to fucking beat it. There's a lot of little secrets in it that you can find, but the secrets are not like vital to progress. The secrets are actually just secrets where, you can maybe find a shortcut here and there, but it's not like
Perfectly balanced, TJ. As all
Yeah.
things should be.
it's not like you have to find it. I also really like the sequel Yoshi's Island, other than the fact that the screams of Baby Mario
we can
are
talk
probably
about
the
that
most
one next,
obnoxious
'cause
fucking thing you
We've
could
already kind of
possibly
talked.
imagine.
We've already kind of talked about Super Mario World, and I'm sure we'll talk about it some more. So we can go to Yoshi's Island, which is I also pulled.
Oh, is that next year?
Yep.
Yeah,
it
that's
should
that. I love this game. I love the system. I love the collecting of the eggs. I love the way that you shoot them. I think the boss battles in this are probably the best of the entire fucking series up to this point.
Yeah, launching all those fucking eggs at the. You can see basically this is a boss right here.
See, I was a little older than you guys when this came out, and I feel like that I had just kind of like, probably just due to sheer obstinance and thinking I was too grown up, I'd kind of moved away from this type of platformer by this time. I was looking for more adult-style games, a little grittier, and the fact that Super Mario was literally a baby in a diaper, you know, I understand
I
now,
could see that.
looking back on it, you know, it's a great platformer and all of that, but when I was a kid, I didn't play a whole lot of this. I wasn't real super interested in it.
One of the things that we're definitely going to cover in this too, just so people are, in case people are wondering, we're definitely going to cover a Beyond Consoles PC from this time period too.
Of course, yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I can kind of see your point, Paul. I mean, at this point, you're probably like 15, 16, so you're probably looking at
What year did this come out?
I think, what was it, 96? Somewhere around that. I think the original one came out in 1990, I want to say.
So I would have been
somewhere in
10 there, and if this came out in 96, I'd have been 16 years old. So, you know, I was looking for...
This came out in 95.
95, yeah, so 95. Dude,
I was 10 when this
my
one came
favorite
out.
level in this game to this day is always touch fuzzy, get dizzy, dude.
Yeah, the obvious drug reference
Dude,
level.
that level, because I mean, like, I enjoyed it as a kid, 'cause I'm like, this level's weird. Then I got older, I'm like, oh, okay.
I see what this level is.
I see what this level's all
I
about.
see what's going on here. I think this is, I mean, like, setting aside any sort of like, oh, it's too like kid friendly or whatever the fuck. I mean, it's just a great platformer. It's just solidly built and designed.
And it adds on. It's not just another. Okay, here's another sequel to fucking Super Mario World.
This, of course, one of the classic fighting games of
See, now,
all time.
I have a super, like, this really resonates with my childhood because I don't think I was ever more hyped for a game than I was the home release of Street Fighter 2.
Who can blame you? It's
I was
a
an
fucking
arcade
game.
kid. I loved going to the pizza parlor and playing video games. And Street Fighter, like, really, for me, Super Nintendo, if I were to list all my favorite Super Nintendo games, almost all of them would probably be fighting games. I was so into fighting games. It was so, like, it really, like, it grew up with me. This idea of sitting down with your friend and going head to head, you know, most skilled guy wins, being able to pick these different weird characters and learn how they work and beat people with them. It was just...
Well, you know what it is. It's like you get your main character, you on all the moves, you train up on them. So then when you go and play somebody, you have that you have that instant kind of competition where it's like, I'm gonna fucking play you, and then it's like you get this ego investment. Like, dude, fighting games are something that like you can just jump into, and it's the best when you're playing someone that doesn't know shit, and you get to wipe the floor with them. And it's just like, I don't know, man. There's always that. I agree with you. There's always an appeal to that. There's just something you can, and it doesn't require this fucking huge time investment. Now, if you're a kid, you're probably going to put a lot of time in because you want to be good, but you don't necessarily have to have that.
It's a simple kind of game design with a lot of depth to it. And I got to tell you, too, at this time, there were two levels of graphic fidelity that you could get, arcade and home systems. And the home systems were always just kind of like, man, yeah, they're cool, but they don't have the graphics of that shit that you can go and play down there. And this game was the first game I remember that really pushed that envelope. It looked, to a child's eye especially, almost identical to the arcade game. It was so awesome how the animations flew together, how the voices, fight and all that shit. All that was new. You know what I mean? Actually getting to hear your game talk in a human voice was new. And so in this game, it was also an expensive game when it came out, too.
Oh, yeah.
Cost like $75.
I mean, that's why it blows your mind with sometimes, because even with some games that came out, like on Genesis, because we're talking about, obviously, this time cartridges, like the sound on the Super Nintendo, you're just like, damn. Because when we did the episode, we compared them, and the Sega Genesis just didn't have that.
That's true.
That's one of the big failings of that system. And like you said, like here, it's like, with a lot of these games, I think the point is that they really took full advantage of the system, of the console they were on. And this is one of those games that just did that perfectly.
You're wrong, Scotty. You're fucking wrong,
History
bitch.
says otherwise, bitch.
You're wrong. Why you wrong?
TJ, me and you lost countless hours to this game.
I didn't lose nothing.
Oh, yeah, whatever, dude.
I didn't lose shit. Turtles in Time, bro.
Oh, man, this game is so fun.
Another arcade port, by the way, or at least
Yes.
arcade-style port.
Yes,
I think it was an arcade port, but
It was.
At any rate, it's fucking awesome. And it's another one where the remake fucking sucks, by the way.
Big Apple, 3 a.m. Dude, I just love that. He always knew if a boss you're going to fight, they did that outline kind of style thing.
Yeah, if you were a kid that was into the Turtles, you knew by the outline who you were going
Yeah,
up
it's like, okay, I'm
against.
fighting Baxter Stockman
Yeah.
in this one.
Oh, yeah. And I mean, like, this
Fighting
game was
Crane in this
fucking,
one.
it was fun as shit. I love to just like do the fucking air kick over and over again. I just bounce from one side of the screen to the other doing the kick.
The beat 'em up style of game too. You know, it wasn't a fighting game. It was more of a you against a horde of enemies that could punch back.
There was like another one that was pretty similar, I guess. Like what was it, Final Fight or something like that?
Like
there were a bunch on the Genesis. Really had the lockdown on this type of game. If you want to ask me about it,
we're going to talk about one of those games. When we get to the Sega Genesis portion. But yeah, this game was fun. It was just like those levels. You just go down, beat the shit out of a bunch of enemies. A lot of good varied enemies, especially when you go back in time. Like there's like dinosaurs and shit.
And all your friends, like, all my closest friends, everybody wanted to have a different favorite turtle. So it was like set up for that too. You could play as your favorite. Mine was Leonardo. My friend John loved Raphael.
TJ, what were you? I think you were Leonardo. Are you Donatello?
Yeah, I feel like I was either Leonardo or Donatello usually.
I always played.
I didn't like the nunchucks that much.
Oh, I love Michelangelo, dude. I always played.
I like the range of the staff and the sword, so I was usually one of those two.
But you got some great combos beating the shit out of people with the Michelangelo's nunchucks, dude. So and it was faster.
Pilot Wings. We used to play that.
We almost
played. I feel like we almost played this ironically. I feel like this might be the first thing I ever enjoyed ironically because the game was not that good. But we still had a lot of fun playing it. Because,
and fucking up on purpose, dude.
Yeah, we'd like intentionally suck at it because it was funny.
Crash into the side of a mountain and whatever.
We'd take turns with our friends playing it to see who could fail the worst.
It was one of the early examples of a true 3D game, too.
Yeah.
I mean, it had this kind of 3D space that you could fly around in. Used a lot of the power of the Super Nintendo to do that parallax scrolling shit, make it look really good. But I don't remember playing a whole lot of Pilot Wings, honestly. There was no swag to it.
Yeah, I mean, I don't really consider it a good game.
I don't know.
I remember having a lot of fun playing it, where we'd literally just sit down and try, if you fell into the there was like a parachute one, and if you fell, you just left like an imprint. You basically just left like Wile E. Coyote style.
Skid
just
mark.
Like hole in the ground.
I picked it more for the reason that you described, TJ. Is like I kind of enjoyed it more just fucking up at it, and like maybe in an unintentional way, to me, it's one of my favorite games in that sense. I mean, I don't think it's gonna be a fucking top 10 contender, but just fun to discuss it.
So what about Star Fox? That was a 3D perspective game.
It was the first one that I remember, especially on the consoles. There were some vector-based 3D games in the arcades and shit, but when it came to like a first or third person actual 3D experience, Star Fox was it, man. And
dude, people fucking just went crazy for Star Fox. I remember like everyone, Star Fox, man, and like
stocks.
It's just because like it's yet again like it really utilized the graphical capability of the Super Nintendo. So like you looked at it, and I mean like today if we look at it, we're like, what the fuck? It looks like just way too polygonal. You know what I mean?
It controlled really well too.
But it was so much fun, and like. It really just took that fucking idea of like like playing a Gattaca kind of game and like or going through the galaxy and shooting and like just took it to the next level.
There was a couple. I think Mortal Kombat 1 and 2 were ported for the SNES as well. I can't remember if the Genesis version of Mortal Kombat was better or the SNES version.
The Genesis was considered to be better because it shipped with blood.
Right, and you had to do the blood code.
You had to do a code, but you could get blood, and the Super Nintendo version had no blood. It was.
But by the time they got to number 2, they did. I remember.
Right
that.
Now, number 2 was unquestionably better on the Super Nintendo. Easily one of the best fighting game ports ever, in my opinion.
Yeah, dude.
Mortal Kombat 2 just blew me away. I've spent so much time playing Mortal Kombat 2 on the SNES for sure. Just a huge roster of combatants. It took, everything about Street Fighter and just dialed it up to 11. It was just
it's the edgy Street Fighter.
Yeah, it was violent, and I was, by the time these started coming out, I was in that age where I wanted the more adult style,
blood fight.
The blood. Is there
blood
any other
guts?
They made? I'll tell you what, and really just from 1 to 2. I mean, a lot of fighting games have done this too. They've just it's like a lot of games you just see like the law of diminishing returns. Like a lot of fighting games have just upped the ante and made them better and better over the years. Like it didn't start off where it's like, oh, it's so great, don't fuck it up. It's like this is more of a genre. Where it's like, no, there are improvements that can be made.
So what are we missing any fucking SNES games here?
The only one that I would throw on there that we didn't really cover would be Killer Instinct, another fighting game.
Oh shit! Yeah.
And another fantastic fucking arcade port. Just spent hours and hours and hours and hours trying to learn the ultra combos for all the characters. Because it really, like, for me, at this point in gaming, it was more about showing up my friends than anybody else, and than anything else.
Of course.
It was like that boyhood competition thing. And you wanted to be able to pick up the sticks and pick a weird character and just humble your friend, you know. And everybody, all my friends were better with certain characters. They had characters that they felt like they owned. You know what I mean? Nobody can beat me with this guy. And trying to one-up each other was really like, it was at the center of gaming at this point for me. And I think in a lot of ways, maybe it still is. I have a hard time sitting down and enjoying totally single-player games. It's not to say I can't, but the multiplayer component became really important to me at this point in gaming and kind of stuck with me.
Well, I think a lot of people, like, you know, that's why online gaming, and I think the gaming market kind of went the direction it did for a while, was just that we immediately had the ability to connect like that. It's like, at first it was just limited to, like you said, your social circle, but now it's like you can fucking play with anybody.
Right, and that kind of diminished it for me, honestly, because I don't really care if I beat the shit out of some rando I'm never going to meet, you know what I mean? There's only so far that goes. Sitting right on the couch next to somebody and going head to head with these games. That I kind of
no, I know. Me and you've had our fair share, Paul,
of course we have,
of Mortal Kombat showdowns, like having to throw a Mortal Kombat match to calm Paul down.
Yep. You better give up at least.
I'm not talking
win.
about I'm not talking about the shit, like the video of you doing that. I'm talking about there's no video where, like,
oh yeah,
I beat your ass like 9 times and Paul's like, run it back, and I'm like, okay, Paul. Then I had to kind of make it like I couldn't let you win easily. I had to do enough where it was like, okay, Paul thinks he's gonna, you know, it's
run it back.
Yeah, no more running it back.
How about this motherfucker?
Now this is where I'm out. I think honestly in the episode I was kind of like, I really have to rely on Paul, because I mean we had this, but I was always more into Super Nintendo.
I loved the Genesis, and it like the Super Nintendo shipped with Sonic, you know, where. But Sonic was another game that I remember the first time I saw it, I was like, holy shit, this game is beautiful.
Because it was just so fast.
Yeah, it really had a sense of speed that I hadn't seen in a game, and it was very different in terms of platformers, whereas, you know, I think Mario Brothers kind of rewarded careful navigation, whereas in Sonic, you really wanted to be just moving at full speed all the time.
Yeah, it was
the
like
faster
the
you
faster
could get
you
through
could be
it.
going, the better. This is Toe Jam and Earl here.
Toe Jam and Earl. I played a bunch of this game. I don't even know if it's possible to beat this game. It was one of those games that just had this infinite number of levels.
And the maps, they changed every time, so there
Yep.
was no consistency to it. It was like randomized shit.
Which was revolutionary at the time, by the way.
Oh, yeah.
Procedural levels that were kind of generated on the fly, or at least a large bank of randomizable levels. You never really knew what to expect with Toe Jam and Earl. It's kind of a puzzle game and an action game mixed together.
Yeah.
You had to collect all the different stuff and bring it to the right spot and avoid the enemies.
And this is
or
another game
destroy
I think
the
of
enemies.
as having like a real sense of humor to it as well.
Oh, yeah. It definitely had that irreverent burp fart, antisocial sense of humor that you had to have to resonate with the
Definitely a very
tweens.
90s vibe to the game.
Oh, yeah. Everything was totally cool.
We're totally awesome. And I remember Toe Jam used to wear the necklace that said TJ on it and shit.
Oh,
so
yeah.
I was
He was like
yeah.
a rapper.
Dude, this is like a funky ass fucking game, dude. Like I remember when like me and TJ running this, and we're like, okay, we're gonna play this game, and it's like you got to rebuild this ship, and you just wander around. There's like all these like there's these weird people, these weird fucking enemies that just are implausible.
And as
make
Paul
no
said,
sense.
I don't know if this game. I mean, I'm sure this game can be beaten, but
Yeah, you
I
can't-
never felt like I really
No.
made any progress in
I've
it.
actually watched long playthroughs of this game while just stoned out of my mind, because I was kind of the same question. I'm like, can this game be beat? You can beat it, and it's just a wild ride to see someone do it. So I'd recommend it to you guys at some point.
Another game that I remember playing a lot of that was in this vein was Zombies Ate My Neighbors,
Yeah.
which was
Oh my God,
another
what a fun game.
randomized levels and different gadgets and shit. That
Yeah,
you
we
had
had to
find.
save the townspeople and
Right.
shit. On the weird enemies, like they had the giant baby.
Yeah.
Was the enemy on one of those levels.
So it was a lot of fun playing these games, but I never beat either.
I
of
always
those
thought
games.
that the funny part of Zombies Ate My Neighbors was like different people being worth different amounts of points.
Oh yeah, of course.
Oh,
Like
yeah,
you
there's
save
definitely a
you save
hierarchy.
some random dude. It's like, who cares? You save a hot cheerleader, it's worth more points. You
Of
know.
course.
It's like, yeah, you saved a cheerleader.
What
That's
do you
way
want to be
better.
left in your town
Wasn't
after
a
the
baby
zombies
like
attack?
1,000 points or something?
I don't know. I think the cheerleader was worth the most.
Oh, she was worth the
I
most?
feel like she was. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong about that. This was a fun game. I remember playing this. This was on SNES too. I don't remember. This is another game where I don't remember which one was better.
Yeah, I only played the Genesis version, so I can't really speak to that either. But I think they were probably pretty equal in quality. It certainly wasn't like a super graphically intensive game.
I seem to remember that there was a problem on I seem to remember someone saying that one was way superior to the other for one reason or another.
It's possible. I just never spent any
I don't
time with
remember.
it.
I mean, I don't. I only really played the Super Nintendo version, so I'm not sure about the Genesis version.
Well, whatever. I guess it's fine.
Sonic.
Of course, we kind of talked about this earlier, but just like this, it's just like a game that.
I just thought it was Sonic that you could just fucking move your character so fucking fast, dude.
Yep. It
was-
had a sense of speed for sure.
And just like the ability to move that and have it all make sense, like, 'cause you never felt like, oh, I'm going too fast with Sonic. It just felt like this. They really sped up the game, but it felt right.
and
then
they kept
obviously-
upping the ante with the sequels too, so that was kind of cool.
Oh yeah.
And Sonic, during this time, I mean, like obviously Sonic is not, I guess you got a movie coming out, so whatever. But he was like pretty much on that same level with Mario at the time. Like it was like
There was definite competition, and he was sold as kind of like the mascot with attitude,
Yeah,
whereas
like,
Mario was just
they got a
It's a
big fat
me,
stupid
Mario.
plumber. We got a fucking crazy blue hedgehog that can run real fast.
But ultimately, you know what? You can't fuck with that plumber though. That plumber stuck around. Sonic. I mean, look, Sonic stuck around too, but he ain't done as well as Mario.
No, the Sonic games have fallen off in quality, where the Mario games have arguably just gotten better and better with each iteration.
So here's the game we talked about this a little earlier, but this Mortal Kombat first game I remember to be super gory, and we had the Sega version,
Dude, the Genesis version all day.
and we knew the fucking blood code and shit. So
There was one game I remember playing on the NES that was actually surprisingly gory, and it's kind of crazy because it was a game that was like a walking PSA. You guys remember Narc?
No.
Narc on the NES was a port of an arcade game where you played like a narcotics officer, and you were
Whoa.
going up against like junkies. The enemies would literally throw hypodermic needles at you and shit.
What?
And you were this like weird hockey, you had all these hockey armor on you, machine gun pistols and shit, and the enemies would just explode in fountains of
Dude.
gore and shit.
I fucking love the fact, and this is something that, I mean, you see MA13 here. Obviously, at a very early on, the video game industry realized, like, the government was, like, kind of threatening to regulate them, so they said, oh, let's regulate ourselves. But some of these games like that just slip by because people just, like, especially if you did the NES time, like, people didn't really know what the fuck people were putting on
Oh,
games.
yeah.
The biggest really controlling factor in the market was more Nintendo and who Nintendo would give that official seal of approval to. It wasn't really the fact that there was some regulatory thing. Like, that's one of the things that Nintendo has always been known for, is, like, kind of having that editorial process that a lot of other game studios don't. And I guess sometimes you get games like that, though.
This attempt to self-regulate by adding these, age range recommendations actually became a selling point for these games.
Oh, yeah.
Like if you saw a game that had an MA13 or
You wanted it.
MA17, rating on it, you knew that game was fucking awesome because there were tits probably, there was exploding heads, cussing maybe. You know what I mean?
I remember one of the stupid laws they did pass, though. Was like, I remember, like, you had to get like, it was like 12 or 13. Like, Mom, buy me one of these games. It's 17 plus. They're like, I try to go buy it. Of course, they'd be like, you need a parent to buy this.
Oh yeah,
And
but
I'm
we were
like-
good at this age, at suckering our parents into buying us shit we shouldn't have been playing.
Oh yeah, of course.
how about this Streets of Rage 2? Do you ever play this one, Paul?
Oh yeah, this is one of the best beat 'em ups of all time.
Yeah, I pulled this because I knew Paul loved this game.
This game, I would sit down and play this game all the way to the end right now with you guys. I mean, it's literally a game I can still pick up, have a great time with. 4 characters to choose from, all of them pretty fucking different.
All right, TJ, you heard Paul say that, right? All right.
Yeah.
Okay, but Paul, you know what? One time you're gonna come in. We're just gonna have it set up.
I'm
like, all right,
down, dude. We'll do it,
Streets of Rage 2.
dude. I know that, like,
Make it happen.
I used to love playing this with friends because certain characters had great, like, they worked great together. Like there was this big slow dude. You can see him on the left, the upper left. He was just like a big wrestler type guy, very slow but did a lot of damage. And then there was this little fast dude that you see next to him there in the rollerblades, who, when you combine those two guys together, you could just juggle enemies. I mean, you really, like, working together. It's just a lot of fun playing this with one other person and trying to get to the end.
I mean, and like you said, and sometimes that competitive spirit gets you shift that energy to like to be in a cooperative experience where it's like, yeah, obviously if I go off the other screen and fuck off, and you're just trying to fight the enemies, then yeah, the game's gonna be way more difficult. But to work together, it's like we have that kind of sense, like we're beating the shit out of people. And honestly, I kind of like that with this era of gaming, like when that started happening, because like me and TJ, we always had that shit with like we're gonna race each other in Mario Kart or some shit, and just that if you take that part out of the experience, it's just not as fun.
Yeah. I mean, this game had a lot of competitiveness to it, too, even though you were working together.
Yeah,
If you died more than the other guy did, if you went into the next level with less extra lives, you were putting the team at risk because, once one person dies in this, it's over. So, you know what I mean? You're really at a disadvantage if you have to try and go it alone. So there was still that competitive element, but it gave you a game that you could play together rather than against each other, which was kind of cool.
So what other games from the Genesis belong in this contention?
The one that really, it's one of my favorite games of all time, and I probably played it more than any other Genesis game, was Road Rash.
Oh, shit,
I remember Road Rash.
Yeah, that's another fucking
Road Rash was, I still love those types of games.
That's like a precursor to me to like Grand Theft Auto kind of thing.
Oh, for sure.
It was the first game I ever remember playing where you'd like cops are the enemy, Like,
oh, yeah, cops were pretty much everybody was your enemy, but it was a great game that gave you this sense of progression. It gave you this. There was a very loose story attached to it, where you were kind of rising up the ranks of these street racers, and so you would run into some of the same guys all the time, and you would come up with these little rivalries with the AI characters, where it's like certain characters would knock you off your bike more than others, so you wanted to really humiliate them as you won. And they would react to you, after you win the stage. If you knocked somebody down, there was a good chance you get a little quick cutscene where they're like, hey, man, you better watch your back if you're going to hack me on the track. You know what I mean? But if you helped them out, you know what I mean? If you avoided hitting them, then they'd be your friends. It had a little economy to it where every time you won a race, you got a little bit of money. You could buy a faster, sturdier
You could
bike.
get the official weapon of Joe Biden, a length of chain.
Yep.
That was a badass.
That wasn't until
with.
Road Rash 2 that you got the length
okay.
of chain.
I'm wrong about that. Sorry.
No, Road Rash 1 had the Billy Club, and that was pretty much it. And you could steal that from the cops. The cops would have their little Billy Clubs, and if you punched as they were raising it over their head, you were like, yeah, and you grabbed that fucking Billy Club, and then it was over.
Oh, then you beat the shit out of the cops. Huh?
Absolutely.
And you can get some gnarly crashes in there, too. Cars be coming at you, and you just don't see it or something, or you don't get out of the way in time. You go flying through the fucking air.
But this was one of those games when somebody was good at it, and I like to think that I was at least decent at it. It was fun to watch somebody play it because they could just, knock people off their bikes at will, win every race. I played a ton of Road Rash.
Oh, dude, fucking, I remember TJ and Steve, our fucking stepdad, played this fucking game a bunch because he liked the game because obviously you get to fucking beat the shit out of cops and fucking run a fucking manly-ass motorcycle. I don't know. To me, it's just one of those games where it's like I don't remember. I didn't play it a lot, but I remember watching a lot of people play it and just kind of like I didn't really. I guess I was a little too young. I kind of just didn't get how to play it. Like every time I tried to play, I just crashed the bike or something.
Yeah, it was definitely a tough game. It's not an easy game, especially at the higher difficulty levels. Once you get past the first couple of stages and you're going faster and the people are meaner, it's a tough game to play. But I played so much of this game.
Let's move on to the N64 here. This is the new era. Era. This is when things started. When the
Bit Wars the
2D games kind of faded away for a while.
Well, also,
until nostalgia kind of brought them back. But
this is kind of the end of talking about the number of bits because it was called Nintendo 64 because of course there's 64 bits.
Yeah, and then after this, no one gave a shit about bits again.
Oh god, the controller for the N64.
A weird controller for sure.
Not that great, dude. Remember all the C buttons you'd have to hit?
Look at it.
The little yellow buttons right there. That does not work.
Definitely
at
a
all.
step
As
back.
a guy that didn't have this, I always hated picking up an N64 controller because it just felt unnatural in my hand.
It's just like, what is this weird middle? Like, what is that there for? Like, explain to me the presence of that.
Well, the way if you look at it too, if you were playing a game that used, and pretty much every game used every button on this thing.
Oh yeah.
If you were using the C stick or the analog stick that's in the center, you had to be holding that and the trigger, and you really had no access to the D-pad. And if you were using the D-pad, you really had no access to the trigger and the analog stick.
It'd be super awkward to operate something like that.
It just felt really weird in the hand. I don't know. I just never really liked this controller. I thought it was a huge step back for Nintendo in terms of ergonomics for their controllers.
I like the design of the console itself, but yeah, the controller is a fucking total misfire.
It is a weird motherfucker.
But it's also revolutionary because it was the first console controller to have an analog stick.
And you have to remember, too, this was actually
That
controversial.
analog stick was not that great, too.
Remember, this was controversial because Nintendo originally wanted to make this a CD-based console, but then they had to go with cartridges, which limited the ability compared to, its big competitor, which would be the PlayStation 1.
Yeah.
So here's did this game come with it? I don't think it did.
It was bundled with it, yeah.
Okay.
Super Mario 64 was
So they
bundled.
usually try to put a Mario title in the bundle.
Of course.
I mean,
it only makes
traditionally.
sense.
You
And
talk
this is
about upping the ante in a fucking game and really reinventing a game while making it still feel familiar, and it's hard to think of a better example than Super Mario 64.
Yeah, I don't think any 2D character made the leap to 3D kind of environments quite as well as Mario did.
Fuck no, dude.
And they did it by doing the same thing that they did in the 2D environments, making the controls absolutely precision, giving you this really great sense of being able to pull off impossible things if you were really good at the game, making it fair. Like when you died, it was because you fucked up. You didn't do it right. You know what I mean? And there was just a great variety in levels. Mario's moveset was expanded enormously. Gone were the days of you just being able to basically jump and maybe shoot some fireballs and jump. You know what I mean? Now you had all of these acrobatic moves. You remember you could go to the top of a tree and do a handstand off the tree and then do this big arcing jump. And that was actually used in a lot of the levels.
Oh, the flying shit. Like, right here is just showing that off. And that's really giving you an idea. It's like Mario's going to fucking fly in this game.
And he does.
And he does well.
You get the flight hat thing, and you can just basically traverse all these huge 3D levels at will. It's just a great game.
I mean, honestly, it's just the ascension of Mario. It's just so crazy. It's like, you see, like, Super Mario Brothers at the time, it's a pretty good game. Then you have Super Mario World, like, it's a pretty good game. And then they bundle with this one, and it's like, if they did anything right, they really, the bundled game, the fucking flagship game is a fucking awesome
Nintendo
game.
always made sure that the Mario games were pretty solid.
Yeah,
for the most
and
part.
this is a rock solid fucking game. Like it like Paul said, it just raised the difficulty and like it just meshed so fucking well with 3D. It just felt, you felt right at home in this game. It wasn't like, I'm playing a totally different game. It just felt like Mario, but taking it to that 3D level of graphics and be able to run around the castle and jump into the portraits to select your level. And all the little secrets you could find, even in the castle, even if you weren't like really in the main game, there's still secrets.
And up next is the game that I think started to actually kill my enjoyment of video games.
GoldenEye.
Oh, this only expanded my love of video games.
This is pretty much
here.
when this game like planted the seed that eventually led to me saying fuck video games.
I don't think I ever even played the main storyline in this fucking game. Everyone just played the multiplayer.
Oh
Right.
yeah, this was a multiplayer game for sure.
Because this is a game that everybody wanted to play that I just fucking flat out sucked at. So I would always lose.
Everyone wanted to play fucking
And I was like,
Oddjob.
man, I fucking hate this goddamn game. I hate it. I hate it to this
God.
day. I look at it
No,
and
this
it makes
game-
me fucking sick.
Dude, I know why, TJ. I fucking killed you so many fucking times.
Everybody
in this game.
killed me so many
You
times
suck
in this
so
game.
fucking bad in this game. God, you were fucking terrible at this game. You're like,
I guarantee I still am to this day.
and dude, it's not like the dexterity. I've seen you play the Mario games, these games where you have the time and shit, but it's like TJ with games where you have to shoot shit is just not that great. Oh my god, dude, you just be on those maps, you'd be like a sitting fucking duck, like headshot TJ, headshot TJ, headshot TJ.
So fuck this game and fuck all the games
game-
that it inspired.
No, this game is so much fucking
This game
fun.
is
I had a
trash.
permanent roster of 4
Trash.
dudes that would play this game,
Yeah.
and there was so much intrigue around this game. Me and my friend Waylon had this thing we called the Mafia, which was this agreement between the two of us that, because this was a 4-player game free for all.
Yeah. Oh
Yeah.
yeah.
But it was a secret agreement between the two of us that we would try and help up until the end. We would try and help the other person. So if I ran into Waylon's character and there were still other guys alive on the map, I'd give him a pass and he'd do the same for me. But of course, there were multiple double crosses that
Of
happened
course.
where the mafia fell apart and one of us decided, to snipe the boss or whatever. But yeah, one of the characters in this game, Oddjob, that Scotty mentioned, was on permaban. Like, you could not pick him.
There's no way.
Literally, we wouldn't play the game. We'd go and restart the console if somebody picked Oddjob because he just had such a fucking So you were not allowed to pick Odd Job. You had to pick one of the other characters that had a normal hitbox.
Dude, if you picked Odd Job, like the advantage you gave yourself is just overwhelming. It's your game to lose, basically.
But there were great, like, you could do different types of games on the same levels because it let you pick what kind of guns. You could do pistols only, which required a whole lot more precision.
Oh, dude, that was awesome.
You could do remote mines where everybody had access to these things where you could set it up and then kind of watch the other person's screen until they walked by one of your remote mines.
That was always great.
Blow it up. The level design was great. And it really, like, I probably almost got my ass beat and almost beat somebody's ass more times over this game than any game in the world. I would have literal screaming mad fit fights with my friends over this game. The shit talk was thick. Like when you went on a winning streak in GoldenEye, it was just the amount of shit talk.
Well,
was
this was a
fucking
status
amazing.
game, dude. If you were number one in any fucking circle in this game, you'd always want to play it because like everyone was let's play GoldenEye, dude. Let's play GoldenEye. And like, dude, it's just one of those games where it's like you're right. So many people would catch hot streaks, and when you just get beat continuously, you feel horrible. But if you're the one winning on the hot streak, there's nothing better than that.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, the game sucked.
Fuck you,
Anyway,
TJ did not
real
suck.
game time. This is a man's game. Fuck all that GoldenEye bullshit. Go on a fucking quest to save fucking Hyrule.
Play a gay
you
little
pussies.
flute like TJ.
Yeah. Get you an ocarina and play some time travel melodies, motherfucker. So this game fucking, I played this a bunch. I didn't play the sequel for some reason.
Water Temple, dude.
I never got into the Water Temple.
God,
is a
the
piece of
fucking
shit. I hate
Water
that
Temple in
motherfucking
this
Water
game.
Temple.
Make the water level go up. Make the water level go down. Make the water level. Oh, fuck, dude. Fuck this game.
And then every time you bitch about it, someone's like, I thought the Water Temple was actually quite elementary. It's like, man, I'm going to beat you over the head with a fucking wrench, you cocksucking lion
it did
motherfucker. That was frustrating. But I don't know. The game overall did not have too many frustrating moments.
Dude, remember me and you got stuck? We played the first time we ever played through the game in the graveyard.
Because I refuse. I had this weird purist thing at the time where it's like, I will not use a player's guide. I will not look anything up.
Well, you're
must
fucked in
win.
this game.
I must win by my own conviction. And so I was stuck on a month on what it ultimately would have been a really easy part if I just looked it up. But ultimately I didn't. I ended up having to fucking look it up because I had no idea how to fucking beat Ganon. I'm like, man, I don't know what the fuck you're supposed to do.
Had to shoot him with the fucking light arrows.
The golden arrows.
You got to shoot him with the light arrows and then use the hook shot to propel yourself towards him,
Hit
where
him
you
with a
can
sword.
vulnerable to hit, a few hits, and then you got to bounce back. And I don't know, man.
I think I actually glory grabbed from you and beat Ganon.
Maybe.
I think I did. I think you played your way through the game, and I'm like, yeah, let me play it. And then I just fucking stole your fucking glory.
You son of a bitch.
This game kind of ripped off Chrono Trigger's time travel shit too, with the different worlds and being able to see the repercussions of your decisions and the different ways that things could play out in the different, time traveling parts of the game.
Yeah, but it only jumped between two timelines, whereas Chrono Trigger, there
were
so
three.
many.
No, there was a shit ton more than three. There
There were only three.
No, there was
present time, the BC time, and the far future time.
No, there was also you had your present era, which was like, I guess, kind of medievalish, but with some cyberpunk technology, and then there was an earlier time where Magus was in like 600 AD or whatever, and then they had the fucking distant past with the dinosaurs. Then they had the future. Then they had the end of time.
Right. Okay.
So I think there was at least 5.
There was a lot of different ones then. This one was just past and future, basically.
Yeah, there was just I mean, I guess Chrono Trigger didn't have that many either, but this one only had 2. It was either you were old Link, you were,
Hey!
adult Link. Oh, that fucking fairy was
Hey!
a piece of shit.
Hey! It's like, oh, man.
Listen! Like, man, can I just shove her up my ass or something? I'm tired of this fucking fairy. But this is the best game of all time, so you're all stupid.
Boo.
Mario Kart 64.
Oh, TJ, dude. I could fucking put on a clinic against TJ in this game.
Yeah, well, apparently your wife can kick your ass in the new one, so.
She can, dude. This is where my
Every time I'm over at your house, she's like, want to play Mario Kart, Scotty? In like this mocking voice because she wants to humiliate you.
Dude, I'm not dumb enough to take that bait.
But yeah, you and I used to play this all the fucking time.
No, if this version of the game, dude, I would destroy Taylor. But I don't have Mario Kart 64, so.
Yeah, this version of the game, I was pretty much a free win. I didn't have a fucking 64, so when I played it against my friends that owned it, I just
Oh, yeah.
I got myself stomped.
Me and Scotty would literally play that. We'd be like, first one with 10 wins in a row is the master or whatever, and we would play back and forth. And it was crazy how often one of us would get to 9 and then lose.
And yeah, well, you know,
and it was like
pressure.
back and forth. We would literally like sit there and play like 100 rounds of this shit, and like for like 9 hours or something.
Never get there.
Finally, one day Scotty won, but
I think it was like 18 or something. I'm like, damn, TJ, I finally got this. Like,
Yeah.
You know what the fucked up thing is? I don't think she ever played it after that. They was like, nope.
yeah, I'm like, well, this game's dead to me. May it rot in
Lost
hell.
10 times. I'll never play the game again.
May it rot the fucking hell. So here, Scotty, this is I know this was your shit. You used to play this all the fucking time.
Oh, dude. Well, the fucking novice mistake you made in this game was you like didn't do certain things, which of course, going back to the Nintendo Power shit, like on the first level you had to fly through like these rings in a certain way, or like this path, and then you could actually go fight the tough boss.
Yeah,
Or
there were 2 different paths through the game, right?
I believe actually 3.
There was like the easy, the middle road, and then the super hard one. And if you didn't do the super hard one, you gimped yourself on the ending, basically.
Yeah, you basically when you faced Andross, you'd like, okay, that's it, and then you would escape from Venom, and that would be it. But you wouldn't actually like get him to go to his true form. And then if you actually got his true form, you would be let out of the base by your dad, and let off the planet.
I'm still alive, son.
Fox, you have to go this way. It was a tough ass fucking game to get to that, dude. And like this game was about like you always want to have the maximum number of fucking points and number of fucking kills every level. And of course you wanted to supercharge your fucking blaster. You want to have the most powerful blaster. Dude, they had annoying ass levels when you had to do the ground unit though. I fucking hated that. Those were the most
tank levels.
The tank levels were so fucking annoying.
Yeah.
That's when they had the rumble pack. You know, if you see it here, it's like boom, boom, boom. So the whole time your controller would kind of be shaking. It just didn't have the feel like when you're in space or you go in the shit in the planets. Like, now I love the fucking shit with Star Wolf. We had like your little bullshit fucking enemy, and they would talk shit to you. And you go on the planet, you just do the flip, and they just do the little lame dialogue. You'd be like, "What the heck?" You do the flip, you fucking kill them easily. I mean, this game at a certain point wasn't that hard, but it was just maximizing it and knowing that you're gonna beat it on the hardest path possible, go the hardest way possible on Venom. And that was kind of what I looked into the game for. Like, because I beat it on the easy path, and I saw I'm like, well, I want to go that way. So when you're playing the game, you see these other planets, and you're like, the natural question, if you really want to play it, is how do I get to do this other path? So of course, you go online or you buy the power guide or whatever. Just a really fun game.
So I know this game is going to get mentioned, so I'll just go ahead and pull it.
Oh, for sure, yeah. I mean, you talk about a game with edge. This one was the edgy game that we all wanted to play. Because it treated you like an adult. There was drug use. There was sex. There was cussing.
Came out at just the right time when like the South Park thing was hitting big.
Yep.
So it was really like a time when people were really ready for this style of like sophomoric sort of like, gross out humor and, like the adult edge and the kind of.
I think they stole the female like fucking squirrel thing, whatever the fuck she is from Space Jam, dude.
Oh yeah, it kind of does. Kind of has a Lola-ish look.
Yeah, so it's like Conker's trying to fucking bang that fucking broad.
Goddamn furries ruining everything. Fucking furries.
These are some OG your Ace, TJ.
So this game obviously had some edge to it. I never really played it, but whatever.
Me either, but I know a lot of people fucking love this goddamn game.
It was great.
So is there any other N64 titles that we should be talking about here?
Well, obviously Superman 64, so then that's...
Oh, yeah.
Of course.
I forgot about that.
The greatest game ever.
Yeah, I mean, such
easily.
A fun,
that's like probably
the best controls.
I think that's probably our like a shoe-in for our number one
fly
slot,
through rings. What could be more fun?
What could be more Superman?
Let me just take a look at some games here and see. Let's see. N64 games. If I'm missing anything.
There was a good Contra game for the N64 that I remember playing a lot, but I didn't have one of these, so I kind of missed the N64 largely.
There's some good games for it that I probably not really, maybe worth like a brief mention. Like Paper Mario was pretty fun. Shadows of the Empire, that was a big game when it came out.
Oh, dude, Shadows of the Empire.
My understanding is that has not aged that great, but
it hasn't.
But
it's still funny. Not funny, but it's still fun. Like the whole thing with Dash Rendar, they give you kind of a different
Dash Rendar.
They kind of give you a different feel for the Star Wars universe. It was kind of something that was in the wheelhouse of what you knew about Star Wars as a kid at that time. but it also was like, yeah, it's kind of a new story. And they had like IG-88 and shit. They had some different characters that you would recognize, but were more tertiary. So you kind of got a different view of the Star Wars universe, which I think was fun.
There was a Doom port for the 64, but I don't know.
No, we're
really...
going to talk about the PC version.
Yeah, I think we'll just talk about the PC one on that. I don't really see much else, so let's move on to the PlayStation.
Well, remember, I didn't say, like, of all time, measure it against the other games. I measured against what we played and what we enjoyed.
Right, of course. So, Resident Evil.
The original one. Some horrible voice acting, but still a pretty fun game.
Controls, by today's standards, really weird.
Oh, yeah. Your character controls like a tank. So you have one input to control motion and one input to control the rotation of your body and thus the direction of your aiming and your walking. It's very, very unwieldy to play. But that really wasn't what sold this game. This game was one of the first games I remember being sold almost completely on atmosphere.
Right, and it's just like, it was, I don't know, it's not the first horror game. You can't make that claim.
No, but it was
the first
actually scary
horror
horror
I think it was
game.
probably the first horror game that was actually scary.
There were other, like, horror games before Resident Evil were things like Splatterhouse on the Genesis, which is basically just an action beat-em-up with a horror filter thrown over it. You know what I mean?
Element introduced. Yeah.
Because they really, I remember being scared a little bit by the original NES Friday the 13th game, where, you go into a house and you never knew if Jason was going to be in there and shit.
And this game just launched right into it. You go up these mountains to investigate, oh, there's disappearances or some shit going on. And you get basically lured into this mansion. You get chased by dogs. So you immediately can't go back outside. And then you're separated from your fucking group, and it's just like, what the fuck am I going to do? And
it was gritty, and it was violent, and it was actually scary, not just at one point, but at multiple points in the game.
Fuck yeah, dude. There's so many jump scares in this game.
And so it really, like, if it didn't invent it, it popularized the survival horror genre.
Oh, yeah. And I think the sequel brought everything to, like, the next level, honestly.
Resident Evil 2 and 3 are my favorite Resident Evil games.
Resident Evil
far.
2 is so much fun for me.
And it was almost, it felt like it was two games in one.
Oh, yeah, for
you
sure.
You played through with Jill, or whoever you did first.
It was Leon and
Leon
it was Claire.
and then Claire, right?
Yeah.
And fucking... like at the end of one of those, I really would have felt like, wow, what a great Resident Evil game. But then you get to go back through with another character, take paths you didn't take, have different weapons and access to different areas, and really kind of bring it was brilliant. It really did feel like two fucking games in one, which is so hard for a game to pull off.
Yeah, and
like masterfully.
There's so many more. Like the original was cool with the mansion and everything, but this has so many different environments and
talking about atmosphere, like having this,
and
city.
it really has like this big It kind of has like a horror sci-fi feel to it too, where they brought a lot more of like the lab experiment kind of stuff into it. Which was present in the first one, but it really took more of a center stage and shit in this one.
But, like, a mansion off in the mountains is one thing. That's like, this is a crazy experience.
But yeah, like the whole city's overrun.
But having the fucking city and just having zombies everywhere, it's like, this is the zombie apocalypse.
You're in the police station, and you're in the sewer system, and you're in the secret facility, and, it's just all this crazy shit. And then Resident Evil 3, a little bit of too much of a retread, I feel like, because you're back in the police station again, and you're back in the facility again, and there's like a lot of stuff that's kind of repeated. But the addition of Nemesis himself is pretty cool.
I got to tell you,
that's like kind of a pants shitting moment when he fucking suddenly appears in a
and he
scene
does it
or place.
He does it so many times and in so many different ways. This was the scariest of the games for me because they did such a good idea of establishing Nemesis as this unstoppable, unkillable death machine, and the way they would make him just crash in on you during quiet gameplay moments. I remember, just walking down a normal hall and he busts through the wall and suddenly you're running from him.
Oh,
you know what I mean?
Dude, yeah.
Whereas you think you're just on your way back to the save point or whatever. Here he is. And there are just so many moments like this in the game.
Dude, even when you know the moments where it's like, okay, I know Nemesis is going to jump out at this point. Like, you fucking were still like, fuck, dude, I want to have to fight Nemesis or deal with him. Like, and even if you, like, because some people, like, you can go online and see them fight Nemesis, dude. You're going to spend, like, I think it was like 46 handgun bullets to fucking knock him down. And so, no, if you
that's even, you don't even kill him. He comes back. You know what I mean? You can't kill him till the end.
Oh, the reason you would do that too is because if you would play it on the harder modes, he would give you drops up to, like, if you killed him 7 times, you'd get like an infinite ammo for like a gun.
Sure.
So there was perks to doing it too, but most people I think just ran away from it.
No,
Yeah,
I never
think
fought Nemesis
I
until it was
fucking-
time to fight Nemesis.
Yeah, I mean, like I think I might have, I might have fought him a few times just for the hell of it, but for the most part, I ran when I saw this motherfucker.
I remember just knowing when I was playing this game too that every time I ran across a grenade, or especially the special grenades like the cryo grenades and the poison grenades, I was like, I better not use this on a normal zombie. I'm going to need this for Nemesis. So by the time I got to the end, I just naturally had a giant stockpile of grenades, which is really what you need to beat him at that point in the game.
They did a really good job of building up Nemesis as a Nemesis. Like you really,
Oh, yeah.
you really do feel like, almost everyone else in the game, even if you're scared of a particular monster or whatever, it's always like, yeah, but he ain't no Nemesis.
And they had some improvements to the controls. They had a button combination you could tap that you could spin around suddenly.
Yeah, and they had some dodge maneuvers finally. So there was
Much needed.
There were some improvements made. I don't remember, was the dodge in 2 or was it introduced in 3?
I believe you could dodge in 3.
Yeah, I think 3 was the first one that you had a really usable
which is
dodge.
a super necessary skill.
Also,
for these
remember
games.
that they had those choices where the screen would go black and white, and you'd have 2 choices. Like the first one in this game is like either you fight the monster or you go into the police station.
Right.
Obviously, the first time I played, I'm like, I'm going to the police station. Fuck that shit. But yeah, that was like I think they introduced. Like I'm trying to think if there's anything else that they really did over that. That's all I can really think of for that game.
Yeah. This game, this is another one that I fucking spent.
Oh my god, I cannot tell you
huge
how
amount of
fucking
time.
awesome this game was.
I mean, like the trailer for this game at the time was like, it's like, holy shit, is this even a game? This looks like a fucking.
Oh no, dude! When the remake comes out, I've already committed to beating it.
Oh yeah, I mean, the progression system alone was so cool. Finding these materia stones, slotting them in your weapons to learn, like that was new back then. There had never been, a game that really highlighted that type of character progression. All the characters were cool, and you spent enough time with them, and they were likable enough that you cared about their plights. It was the first game I remember killing off a main character for good. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
a character that, you get them early on in the game, and I mean, there were other games that did it, and they were in the Final Fantasy series. There was which one was it? I think it's our Final Fantasy VI. There's a pair of mages that you get, twins, that they kill off in the game. But Final Fantasy was really, like, it was an emotional game. Like, I remember hating Sephiroth's guts at the end of this and really feeling like, I was, participating in the culmination of a series of epic fucking events. This game had great locations. The city that you start in has its own feel, and really the entire game could have been set in that setting. They fleshed it out so well. But then you get to move to these different remote environments and wilderness environments and ancient temples.
See the path of destruction wrought by Sephiroth too. I mean, it's such a game that it has so much depth to it. A lot of games, it's like you look on the surface, like this is an interesting game just on the surface, but then when you dive into it, it's so expansive, and it just, for an RPG.
Another one
at
that
the
does a
time-
great job of making you really like build up your fucking nemesis in Sephiroth too.
Oh yeah, especially like you said, like the character death. I mean, Sephiroth is central to that. So I mean, of course, like at that point, like you really like before you're like, yeah, he's a dick. Then it's like, what the fuck? Now I really don't want this motherfucker. And like you're right. By the end of the game, it's like I've got to fucking destroy this dude. But it's not easy to beat him.
There's a level of freedom too that was pretty rare in your character development, because so much of your power came from the materia that you slotted in your swords and your armor and shit.
Yeah.
There were multiple. It was like a very free form game where it's like you could play this any number of ways and be successful. You know what I mean? There wasn't this like, there was ultimately like a most powerful way through the game, but there were many different ways, many different combinations of teammates that you could make work. And it really added a lot of replay value to this game. This is a very rare long ass RPG game that I've played through multiple times, just due to the fact that, well, yeah, that worked really well. I want to try and, develop this character next and see what they are at the peak of their power. So, I mean, just hard to overstate how fucking awesome this game was when it came out.
I have a sense of like I have a sense of incompletion with this game, because it just seems like every time I've played it, something has conspired against me in the external world to prevent me from finishing it.
Well,
cursed.
TJ, there's a fucking remake of this game coming out. You just need to fucking sit down and beat it, dude.
Maybe I do, because I've literally gotten to Sephiroth twice and then had real life intervene and either remove me from where I could play the game or, somehow so I've literally gotten to the boss of this game 2 times and not beaten the fucking boss of this game. So.
I know, dude. I was there. That was
fucking ridiculous.
That's insane. To get there twice, I mean, fuck. It's like into like the Super Bowl and losing, man.
I know. It's Castlevania. I love this game so much. This is one of my favorite games. As far as this is probably the last 2D action platformer style game that I ever fell in love with and just played ad nauseum. I've probably beaten this game, 3 or 4 times, and there have been times where I've played halfway through here and there or whatever the fuck.
This is quite a long and expansive game.
Like
too.
I've gotten the map to 99% explored or whatever the hell, and I don't even know if it's possible to get to 100. It might be. I guess they wouldn't have it if it wasn't, but certain areas I have no idea how to fucking actually get to. But
I had friends that were into this, but I'm going to be honest with you. I had such a bad taste in my mouth from previous Castlevania games that I just passed on this one.
See, I never have given a shit about any Castlevania game before or since this, but I love this fucking game. Like, if they were all like this, I'd probably be the biggest fucking Castlevania fan in the universe.
I mean, it's very different from all of the games that preceded
it
it.
is.
It's way more of an RPG, which is really cool. I don't deny. I love watching people speedrun this game because it's just so insane how quickly you can get through it and some of the tricks you can use within the game systems.
Oh yeah, and I love the boss battles in it. I love the fucking atmosphere. I love the different areas and all
great
the variety
music,
of enemies.
great sound effects.
There's the intrigue of exploring the castle, getting the ability so you can go to every spot, like TJ said. It's always the fact that the bosses. And sometimes they can get repetitive, but I think the bosses overall are pretty good. The bosses are not just like a throwaway thing. You have to fight your dark reflection. You have to fight some fucking crazy looking demons. You have to fight a giant fucking human corpse.
And then when you think you've beaten the castle, it's like, nope, bullshit. You got to go through the upside down castle now with a fucking whole new fucking slew of enemies and shit.
Well, actually, I'd say that it's not a giant corpse. It's like a fucking mass of giant. It's a bunch of corpses.
That thing's in a few different Castlevania games.
Yeah,
I believe.
I think they've actually used it in every one since then.
That aspect of it shows how much care went into this game to design something that's not only interesting and engaging the way that you design it, but also if you just totally flip it 180 degrees.
Yeah, and some people said
and it's still playable and fun and has its own landmarks.
I've heard some people say that's lazy how they did that. Well, if it
no,
it's not lazy because they had to create a design that was functional upside down and right side up.
Right,
so.
and still fun to play through both ways with its own feel. It's absurd to even say that.
I mean the challenge involved in that is crazy. And I mean it's just such an expansive game. You could fucking lose hours and hours and hours of your life to it. This game's crazy. Kind of a low-budget game, is my understanding. Like, the fog that makes it so iconic was originally designed to hide, the flaws of the game and the graphics.
It was to, lower the amount of polygons on the screen at any one time. But they ended up turning it into really just kind of a fundamental part of what made this game scary. It was what this game didn't show you that was scary. Yeah. It showed you some scary shit, and you'd be like, oh, well, that's fucking crazy, but it was really the times where you were alone out on the streets of Silent Hill with the fog closing in and the radio static going.
Oh, God, I know. That was the scariest shit. The radio would just be going crazy. So you know the enemy is close. You're just running down the street.
But you don't know which way to run. You don't know where it's coming from or how many of them are or what you're going to need to face it or if there's a way that you can get away from it. You're just stuck in this prison.
Man, this game scared the shit out of me when I fucking played it as a kid, dude. I was always scared. Like, oh, shit. It just really, the atmosphere it creates, it might have been for fucking budgetary reasons, but it just was super effective.
It makes me respect it all the more because they took what in other games would have been a huge limiting factor and made it the central focus of the game and made it great.
And I mean, I always felt like Silent Hill 1 and 2 fucking, just, I don't know, man. There's something about those games that just, it took the whole, I feel like it went, this game went as far beyond Resident Evil as Resident Evil went beyond the games that came before it.
Right.
It just took it to a whole other level of because I think it started Resident Evil's scary, but it's like jump scare scary. This game like gets into your head and fucking
like,
really brings an element of psychological horror.
This is like the
into
fucking question the nature of perception and reality kind of shit. You're like, whoa, what the fuck? I mean,
Well, it was smart because a lot of the games that came after Resident Evil were just trying to rip off that same formula, and they wanted to make it was very popular at the time. These fucking survival horror games became huge, and Silent Hill did something that none of the other ones up until this point were able to pull off. That psychological tinge to the horror that TJ mentioned, which, you can't take that away from it.
Crash Bandicoot Warped.
dude, I fucking played this game endlessly.
Well, you may stand alone on this one because I stayed as far away from Crash Bandicoot as I could get.
I don't like any of the other games. For some reason, I just like this. It's just basically a little time travel game. It's just a platformer, and I always just enjoyed it. I felt like it had a lot of replay value, and I've played it just so many times. And I'm like, I'll be honest, I've never really gotten into the other Crash games, but this one always just has kind of like a special place in my heart. For some reason, I always just, if I want to play like a game from this era, like on PlayStation, I was just going to go back to this, because I felt like maybe there wasn't...
This is like, what, the third of the games? I liked all three of them. I don't know if they made any after this, but I liked the original three. I didn't think Crash ever went to the level of like a Mario or a Sonic-style character, but I thought it was a pretty fucking decent little platformer.
I never really played it. I was not looking for more, I was a little older at this time. I was approaching the end of my teens and into my 20s when I was playing PS1, and I was just not looking for Crash Bandicoot. That was not,
fair enough.
I had Metal Gear Solid to play. I had all these RPGs that were just like the Final Fantasy series. Any number of the PS1 Final Fantasies could be on here. Final Fantasy VIII is a game that I hated at the time that I played it, and then when I went back as an adult and played it, I was like, this is fucking brilliant. This game was actually great. And then Final Fantasy IX is my favorite in the fucking series.
I love 9 as well.
9 is great.
I didn't like 8 at the time. Maybe I would like it if I replayed it, but I remember kind of having the same impression of that. But maybe it was just because it was a follow-up to 7. So this is Tekken 3. I don't really give a fuck about it, but you guys can talk about it if you want.
I loved Tekken. I mean, Tekken was the ultimate, like for me, this was the fighting game you went to play as a pickup game. I never got good at Tekken because really Tekken for me was about finding a character with a really cheesy, cheap, hard to dodge moveset and just mashing it out against somebody and getting your win.
Yep.
And I know that it's much more than that to the people that really fucking specialize in playing Tekken, but I don't knock it for that. Like, I love the button mashy quality of Tekken 3.
That's the same thing with like a game like Soul Calibur, dude. There's like these certain games where you're right. Yeah, there's people that fucking train up on it, but let's be honest. The two main fighting games are Street Fighter and then Mortal Kombat.
I mean, Soul Calibur is a game that I took a little more seriously than I took Tekken. Like, I was pretty decent at the first Soul Calibur game. But Tekken, I just loved, and I really played this mostly in the fucking arcades. I didn't even really play it on PlayStation. But just standing up, knowing that you could pick Eddie Gordo, the fucking weird Rasta dancer guy, and probably beat somebody, just mashing it out, There's no better feeling than that. It's like all kinds of reward, but with no time invested. You know what I mean? That's a great way of describing Tekken, at least the way I look at it.
Just a true button masher.
So here's another one that people seem to like. Twisted
Hell
Metal 2.
Fucking
Hey, I'm the one that you wanted. Dude, this is a fucking awesome game. I just love the different maps and the different characters.
So why 2, Scotty? Because 1 came out on this too.
Yeah,
just
Twisted
feel
Metal 1 is great, but Twisted Metal 2,
I don't
in
know.
my opinion,
It just-
was the refinement
yeah,
of
dude,
1.
it upped the ante, dude. It was like, look, 1 is still a really fun game, but I don't know. 2 just to me was like, it just blew my fucking mind.
It blew the
Got it.
roster out. There was way more people to play. The car designs just got crazier. What I loved about this game was that it was a 3D kind of car combat game, which I hadn't really seen a whole lot of up until this point. But it almost played like a fighting game. Like, you had to do fighting game inputs to get your special moves in this game to go off. And there was no guide telling you what they were, so you really had to like pick a character and figure out all his moves. And it really fostered that sense of competition, too, because if you were really good with a character and a friend thought he was really good at a character, then, this head-to-head matches became all the more... And it really did. It had great fucking head-to-head. It had great risk-reward kind of characters. Like, if you remember, there was the motorcycle guy. I can't remember his fucking name. But he had basically no HP. He could only take a few hits. But he had the best ult in the fucking game. That screaming, flaming skull thing that was a homing missile. Like, if he launched it on you, it was going to hit you.
Oh, dude, if you got the homing missiles and you got behind somebody, you're fucking done. There's no chance.
But, you know, in order to play that guy, you had to be able to dodge people well enough to not take a bunch of hits because you had less than half the HP of the rest of the roster.
I know. I fucking love playing as Sweet Tooth a lot of times because obviously
Sweet Tooth was everybody's favorite. I mean, you can tell by the way they marketed it. Sweet Tooth is central to this game for sure.
The weird kind of almost like Atlas figure dude with the 2 wheels was always kind of fun to play. It was just so weird.
Yeah, there were definitely some weird designs. I always like to play like the big chunky machines in this one. So I played a lot of the monster truck and this front end loader that you see here. A lot of the crazy big vans and slower but more
take more damage.
Take more damage and can carry more ammo of different weapons and shit. But yeah, just another great game to go head to head with and show off and swag on. And if you were good at this game, you definitely had fun playing it.
Oh, fuck yeah, dude.
Metal Gear
Yeah,
Solid.
I call this. I know Paul would probably...
I can't even tell you, dude. This game blew my mind in the same way that, Final Fantasy VII blew my mind, in the same way that Super Mario World blew my mind. It was such a thoughtful, slow pace. It was my first introduction to a stealth game. Most games that were like this leading up to this, in fact, all games that I can remember playing, where you played this military badass with guns and shit.
Yeah, you just bust in the base.
Right, you'd kick down the door, and it was all about the explosions. This was like a thinking type of game. You had to be careful. You had to plan your routes through these things. You had to really, really be strategic about how you attacked these different rooms. And then that coupled with this super colorful, memorable cast of characters, crazy bosses that you really had an impetus to hate when you fought them, gimmicks that I've never seen, really, nobody's even really tried to replicate them. There's a boss in this game called Psycho Mantis.
Oh, shit, dude.
He's a psychic dude.
Yeah.
And you can't beat him unless you pick up the Player 2 controller and use it when you're supposed to be mesmerized. The only way I figured this out was I was talking to a friend and I was like, dude, this Metal Gear Solid game is bullshit, and I will prove it to you. I will sit down and you tell me exactly what I should be doing at every moment of this fight with Psycho Mantis and see if I win it. And you tell me anything else I could do. He's like, all right. So I go through the fight a bunch of times and I'm just losing. He's like, man, this fucking boss is hard. What is it? I was like, you pick up, I'll go through it. You pick up the fucking controller and see if you can suss out what I should be pressing and when I should be doing what. And it was during him fucking around with the controller to try and figure out what I could be doing differently that I realized that the Player 2 controller is what you had to pick up so that you were circumventing his psychic control. And that, figuring that out, I was like, oh my God. I thought I would be annoyed, but I was just like, this game is fucking awesome. This game is so cool.
Because at the beginning of the show, you're like, you talk about when you got frustrated by a game, but this, I guess this is a rare exception for you where you're like, you know what? I
couldn't not finish this game. By the time you get to that fight, I was so invested in the story, so invested in how all these boss fights were going to be and how I was going to best them and what the game was going to require of me and the plot twists and shit that there was no way I wasn't progressing past Psycho Mantis.
I've never really played this game, but I'll tell you what, even I knew about the Psycho Mantis thing. That's one of those fucking moments that it spreads beyond that. It's just this is one of the craziest fucking boss fights, and it's like, why? It's like, because if you don't know, you have to use the second player controller and plug that in. If you don't have it plugged in, it's a 1-player game. So why the fuck would you think to do that?
Yep.
And of course, look on the back. Hint.
Oops, sorry.
1-900-896.
Oh, of course. My mom would have kicked my ass if that would have shown up on the phone bill. So I had to figure it out.
I guess so. Right.
How the fuck do I beat Psycho Mantis? God damn it!
And there was no, I couldn't go do that. I couldn't go to Google and be like, Psycho Mantis fight explained.
The
PS2. The 2. Scott only put up 2 games for this one. He put up Silent Hill 2, which is pretty much...
Oh, man.
I think it's the only worthy sequel to Silent Hill, honestly, in my opinion. I could be wrong about that.
I agree with you.
I haven't played some of the more recent ones, so maybe that's totally wrong to say. But,
dude, just Pyramid Head.
Yeah.
If you play this fucking game, and the first time you see that motherfucker and you fight him, you're like, all right, that was really fucking creepy. That motherfucker is kind of like a Nemesis character, but Silent Hill style. He just appears out of nowhere with a giant fucking like what is it, like a sword or a cleaver or something?
Yeah, like a giant
Yeah, he's got like a
sword-esque meat cleaver thing.
Yep.
And the first time you have, like, one of the first times you have to fight him, maybe it's the very first time, you have to fight him in this really tiny little fucking claustrophobic room, and there's no way to actually beat him. You just fight him until eventually something happens where he, like, wanders off or something.
It ramped up the body horror. A lot of the enemy designs in this were very, twisted versions of humans.
Mangled human flesh.
Mangled and rearranged human flesh. It was definitely had that kind of flair to it for sure. It's a great game.
It really upped the ante of the original, in my
They were
opinion.
able to do a lot more graphically with the PS2.
Oh, yeah.
And so...
And plus, this time around, they actually had a budget, so...
Right.
God of War. Now, this is definitely a Scotty game here.
Dude, this is a dude, I remember why I actually fucking first bought this game. I was at a Best Buy when we lived in Palmdale, and this weird dude's like, "That game's real good." And I was like, "All right, weird, creepy dude, I'll buy the game." So I ended up buying it, and just like, dude, I don't think it's a super complex game, but I just like the mythology that it gets into. Obviously, it's very loosely based on Greek mythology. You just play through the game, and it's just like leveling up your weapons and your abilities and getting new powers. Like, you get this power, now you can use this special attack and kill a bunch of enemies and rack up a bunch of points. That was a big thing. Like, when you're fighting the enemies, dude, you want to kill as many as possible in succession so you get more red orbs and shit. So you can, of course, power your shit up faster.
Right.
So it's just one of those kind of games.
One thing I remember this game, wasn't this one of those games where it starts you off super badass and then takes all your powers away and you got to, like, regain them?
I think that's in one of the God of Wars.
No, that is in God of War 2, I believe.
Oh, okay.
Oh, yeah,
Gotcha.
or 3. It's the one where you start off fighting with all your armor and all the weapons from the previous game.
Well, no, it is too, because you basically come down from Olympus, because at the end of God of War 1, you basically, spoiler, you're basically made a god. You're the new God of War.
Right.
So, you have to put all your power. It's like, to defeat this enemy, put all your godlike power into the sword of whatever, the sword of destiny.
It's kind of a tutorial for what you would eventually unlock in the game.
Yeah.
But yeah, these were cool games. They were edgy and violent and sexual. Had some cussing in them and stuff. So
Kratos got him some pussy.
He
I
does.
liked all the God of War games.
So what about, is there any other PS2 titles?
There's anything that you guys wanted to add?
There is one that if it's not on this list, I don't know what the fuck we're doing here.
I kind of checked out around this time.
Grand Theft Auto. Grand Theft Auto 3 was... I can't even tell you how fucking awesome that game was.
Oh my god, is that San Andreas, or which one is that?
No, that's the one That's the one before San Andreas. It's in New York. It's or Liberty City. It's the first Liberty City game. And one perspective, really blocky looking graphics, especially by today's standards. But oh my god, the amount of freedom in that game, the fucking attitude of it, the fact that you had these multiple radio stations, all with licensed music on them, and different, the world building in that game. There's no way it's not one of the greatest PlayStation 2 games of all time. I mean, like, the fact that it had this mini game in it, which I spent a lot of time with my friends doing, where you would just go out in the world and see who could cause the most mayhem and survive the longest.
Yeah, dude.
How many stars can you rack up? How long can you survive when the army's after you? You know what I mean? When the streets are literally
the National
rolling with
Guard.
tanks.
Yeah.
But even the single player was great. All these characters that, and of course they got better with time. I mean, this is not as good as Vice City was. Vice City, in my opinion, was not as good as San Andreas was. For a long time, they just really built on themselves. But for a PlayStation 2 game, it changed the landscape of gaming. Like, there were tons of games trying to do this.
I've never been a big fan of these games, but this is the first one I actually played, and it was a pretty fun game. Like the reasons you described. Like, the main storyline, yeah, you have fun doing that, but it's just going off and just causing fucking mayhem and just seeing what you can do. And like, there's so many like little Easter eggs and weird shit you can find if you really just go out there in the game and look for them.
It's a game that gives you the freedom to go across an entire city and hides all kinds of interesting side quests and special cars and upgrades and all this shit in places where your really only reason to go is your sheer curiosity, just to check out that part of the city. And before this game, I can't remember a game where the game world itself was the central playing element. Like, it was the biggest draw was the fact that you had this entire fucking city populated with all these people that would talk shit and all these different jobs, and things ran on a schedule, and you'd run into cops and you'd run into ambulances. It was like a city simulator, but with no morality, where you could just pick up a gun and steal anybody's car you want and go on this insane crime rampage There really wasn't a game before this.
That's why it was so controversial, too, because it was like, you can do all these immoral things. You can kill people, you can rob, you can steal, you can play as ethically as you want.
Right.
You know, you get to make all these fun moral choices that, you know, obviously, yeah, in real life, you wouldn't be able to make those choices.
And now that's kind of passé, because Grand Theft Auto is still a huge franchise, and there are tons of games that have aped this gameplay style of giving you this huge, expansive world filled with intrigue to explore and hiding things around it. So many games, and I'm really a sucker for these types of games, I think, because I played this game. I'm not a completionist in games. If a game sucks or I get tired of it, I'm fine with not beating it, usually. But in a game like this, where there's all these little hidden things and side quests to do, I feel like I'm missing out if I don't experience it. And so I'm really susceptible to that type of game because of this series, probably.
Look at this.
The computer.
The old computer. So.
It's supposed to be Doom 1, but whatever. Doom 1, Doom 2 is fine.
Whatever. They're both Doom.
It's fucking Doom.
Doom.
The cyber demon.
Doom and gloom.
Dude, these games. Whew.
I mean, the first commercially successful first-person shooter. Wolfenstein 3D came before Doom, technically.
Sure.
But when it came to games that people were really all playing, this is the first-person shooter, really. And it's still to this day fun to play. It's got a real fast, brutal kind of movement speed. A lot of enemies thrown at you, so it's not like one big enemy at a time type of game. You get these hordes of enemies, packed to the brim with secrets and secret rooms with power ups that you can find.
I would just fucking I kill all the enemies and just wall hump the entire map. You're looking at every possible way because well, you go outside, you see like a Gatling gun or something. You're like, well, how the fuck do I get that? Or like, oh, you get fucking 200% armor. Like, how the fuck do I get that?
This is one of the first games where this was back when this is still in the days when like blood was like a big seller, like obviously people still are into that, but like it was way more rare this time to have like a super gory game. And this kind of I don't remember if this came before or after Mortal Kombat, but whatever the case may be, I remember there was a huge
Doom 1 I think was around the same time.
Among my friends though, it was like Doom, like that was spoken with like reverence, like, man, you played Doom? Fucking crazy.
Dude, a fucking teenage boy's fantasy. It's like, you're a fucking Marine, you got a bunch of weapons, and you kill a bunch of fucking demons.
Yep.
You have to get keys and shit, too. So there's, like, I guess some minor puzzle solving you have to do in the game.
Hit switches and get keys. But mostly it was about just room after room of brutal-ass combat where the creatures, as you get deeper into the fucking, planet, are more and more badass and hard to kill, and they're ever more numerous. And your arsenal just gets bigger and more absurd.
Bigger guns, more guns,
the
crazier
BFG,
guns.
The big fucking gun.
It's edgy because it's, demons and shit that you're fighting. And it had a great gritty-ass industrial soundtrack. It's just, just a badass game.
Yeah.
Before badasses were passé. You know what I mean?
Yeah, before it was like, another badass game, huh? Whatever. There it is. There's the original.
Doom.
Quake.
Now, this one is my shit. Quake, to me, changed the fucking whole landscape of what I expected from a game. I never had, I was a huge Nine Inch Nails fan, and they did the fucking soundtrack for the game, which probably just added to its mystique for me. It was so fun to play. It was fun to play through the whole story, and it was an absolutely super fun multiplayer game. One of the first shooters that you could very easily connect up with other people and play.
Oh, dude, that's why people fucking love dude. Quake was one of those games where people just like that's the first time I really heard people talk about multiplayer like a serious thing. It was like, oh man, you gotta play fucking Quake. Oh man, Quake's the best fucking game ever. And it's just like, it's one of those games where it's like it's just so pivotal in its role at the time for just getting people to fucking really start doing the multiplayer thing and actually taking that seriously. Because I mean, even Nintendo 64 supported some online play, but no one really cared at the time.
I feel like in a lot of ways I'm lucky because I feel like gaming was growing up at the same time I was. Because this hit at a time in my life where I was just ready for, something. Because Doom was kind of tongue-in-cheek badass. This was like, I won't say it was scary. It's not like a horror game, but it had a whole aesthetic to it that was way more serious than Doom. And that just drew me right the fuck in. Great soundtrack, infinitely replayable, moddable, shareable with your friends, which was something that probably didn't help the financials of PC gaming, but certainly helped to popularize it.
Fuck yeah,
I mean, this was the first. You couldn't take Super Mario Brothers 2 and copy the cartridge and give it to your friend. If you wanted to let your friend borrow that shit, you had to give him your game. And now here on the PC is your first chance. Like, I could get some floppy disks, some 5 1/4 floppies, and put Doom on it for a friend and just give it to him. And Quake was the same way.
Warcraft 2.
Fuck yeah, dude.
Tides of Darkness.
Warcraft 1 is kind of a, it's, it's a good game, but it's not really, it's a very slow game. Warcraft 2 is just a fucking fun strategy game, and it's so much faster than the first one. Like, when I played this one, I was like, oh, I kind of like Warcraft. I guess I'll get Warcraft 2, because I heard good things about
Well,
it.
the main thing that makes this so much better than the first one is the ability to select a group of people.
Yeah.
Whereas in the first one, you
that-
literally
that-
had to like tell each person what to do individually.
That's why it was so slow. Is because like, okay, this peon, go build this hut. You do this, like in getting the war parties together. Like, I'm gonna go explore.
There were strategy games before Warcraft,
Oh, for sure.
but a lot of them were kind of locked into these stodgy military, normal human military style things. The Civil War and samurai.
Not much of a fantasy element to it.
They took this idea of having this game where you start at the beginning of each level and build up your town and add buildings strategically so that you can create units to crush the other guy's army. Had never had this full fantasy treatment. And they did such a good job with the world, too. I mean, the world is at least 50% of why Warcraft is remembered. The characters that are introduced over the course of 1 and 2. The recurring, nature, this kind of three-way battle that goes on in the world, and the constant interplay between it. It was all just done so well. Blizzard kind of owns PC gaming. Still to this day, probably the most respected and longest-lived PC developers out there.
I mean, obviously, Warcraft. The success of Warcraft 2 is largely with a thing that really built Blizzard up to put out Warcraft 3 and eventually put out WoW,
Right.
which for a few years was just so dominant.
I mean, StarCraft
and-
was in there too,
Oh yeah, well,
which changed the landscape.
We actually
Oh,
have
we
that.
got that right here.
I mean, I played more StarCraft than I played Warcraft because it was like they realized that simply by taking the elements of that, refining them, and changing the the setting from this fantasy setting
to a sci-fi setting.
to this far future sci-fi setting. They did the same thing with the characters. They made these units relatable. They added this three-way struggle instead of just the orcs versus humans kind of thing.
Yeah, you have the Zerg, the Protoss, and the Terrans.
All of them played very differently from one another. Infinitely replayable, fun to beat your friends at and get beat at. I don't know. It's just a fucking. What do you say about it?
Dude, it's just one of those games that it's like you're always like, obviously you can play through the main storyline, that's fun, but it's just infinitely replayable. You just go there and you just build up, and it's like you said, like each race has its things. Like everyone knows the Zerg rush. That was the fucking prime strategy with the Zerg. It's just like you have to overwhelm your enemies. Whereas if you're Protoss, then you have to really build it up very carefully and strategically because your unit time is so much lower.
You got to play defensively so that you can build up your Protoss army. You're not trying to be at their base immediately, but you could be.
You could be if you want.
Like if you decided there were some dirty ways of playing this game, where proxy bases and land down photon cannons in people's bases, and so it was just a great strategy.
I mean, yeah,
game.
for someone like you, that's like Aliens is your favorite movie of all time. This is like, I mean, Warcraft's kind of used like that's cool, but this is like, whoa, okay, we're actually getting something in the kind of universe that I would like.
Here's another of these games.
Unreal Tournament.
Unreal Tournament.
I think this is still probably my favorite multiplayer shooter ever. Unreal Tournament 3 specifically.
Oh, dude, yeah, I think it was for PS3, right?
Well, it was a PC game.
Oh,
I played it on a
PC.
PC.
Oh, you played it on PC, yeah.
Yeah,
But was it before 2005?
probably not.
That's why I put Unreal Tournament. I mean,
it might be. It actually might be. Now
Dude,
that I think about
I really
it.
enjoyed Unreal Tournament as well. It's one of those games where it's just like select your guns. Or like there's a certain one like the Instaglib or whatever it's called.
No, it was 2007.
Oh, this one was.
No,
3.
3 was.
Oh, 3 was. Yeah, that sounds about right. It's just one of those games where it's just fun to run around a map and just fucking try to kill each other as much as possible.
Yeah, I mean, it just looked better than any other 3D shooter had looked up until this point, and it had that going for it. I remember it was like a graphical showcase, and they managed to get a lot of different feeling weapons that weren't really in Quake. They weren't in Doom, so it felt like its own thing, even though it was basically a retreading of earlier games.
At this time, multiplayer was still kind of hard to pull off because a lot of systems like had multiplayer and it was something they considered, but getting it to connect and work was just extremely difficult, even on the same network. Oh fuck, dude!
I mean, we could just go to the next one. Nothing needs to be said about Diablo. Easily, if I had to name my favorite game of all time, it's this one right here, Diablo 1. Diablo 2 is considered by most people to be the superior game. Maybe it is, but I give a fuck. Diablo 1 was the coolest game I'd ever played when I played
the fucking soundtrack. I mean, like, the reason we bought it, like, we played actually on PlayStation, I think, first, before I actually went and bought the PC version, because I heard obviously it was far superior, was just, like, looking at the box that came in, it was like, what the fuck is this?
It definitely took that darkness. It was like one of the first grimdark games that got really big. Took the fantasy setting and added all this moral weight to it. Had a great procedural dungeon system. 3 different characters that played very differently. A great loot system that is just being aped everywhere in the world still to this day. This random drops with random affixes that might help your character, might not really do anything for your character. Added the multiplayer ability to trade with people. So you could, if you didn't have a piece of armor, somebody did, and you really needed it for your character, well, there was a price for that. So it just had this whole other layer of depth. Also, open PvP. So one of the first games I remember playing like this where it wasn't totally cooperative. Like when somebody joined your game, it was like friend or foe. You know what I mean?
Because you could play it either way. I mean, like, they might cooperate. You're right. You might have someone that's like, oh, we're cool. I'm cooperating. And then, like, you loot a big monster or something happens where it's like, oh, there's some loot. You get killed.
One of my fondest memories of fucking on somebody happened in this game, and it was on my friend Waylon. He sucked at this game. Me and my friend John were awesome at Diablo. Waylon had it, but he didn't like it all that much, and so he really sucked at it. And we would take him down into the dungeon to power level him.
Dude.
And I found out that I had a bunch of money by this point, of course. So I bought a bunch of Resurrect scrolls. And I was a mage, so I put a wall of fire on top of his corpse, and I would just res him. He would pop up with 1 HP, immediately die from the fire, drop half of his gold. Then and you could literally loot him dry with that, and just leave him naked in the dungeon alone. I mean, it's fucking hilarious. It was just so much fun because of that unpredictable nature. Because people would help you progress and then turn on you. You know what I mean?
That happened all the time. And it's totally like, yeah, you could trust me. Especially if someone was higher up in the game than you. If you were comparable, then yeah, maybe not. But
one of the scariest boss fights in gaming, dude. The first time you run into Diablo's room, you shit your pants. And you got killed.
I mean, it's just filled to the brim with fucking enemies as well. I mean, it's not. It's like that's one of the things I liked about the game, especially considering Diablo 2 as well. It's just like when you fight these guys, like you're not just fighting him. It's like you're fighting the legions of hell. And I mean, and obviously, if you've leveled up high enough, I mean, like one of the things about this game is building yourself up to that fight. If you don't build yourself up right to that fight, you're exactly right. You're gonna run into Diablo, and he's gonna fucking kill you like that.
Yep.
I played the Diablo once.
The sanctity of this place has been followed.
You should play Diablo, TJ.
I done played it one time, long
Come on,
time
you need to
ago.
play Diablo, dude.
I played it real good. No, I didn't really give a shit about it.
You suck, TJ.
Dude, Diablo 2 is
click,
fucking
click,
amazing.
click, 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 click. Oh, I beat him with clicks.
You could not get through either of those games just by left
Click,
clicking.
click, 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 click. Click, click,
You're
click.
full of shit,
Click,
TJ.
click, 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 click. More clicks. Click, 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 click.
What's wrong with Diablo, TJ? You have something against Diablo now?
Yeah.
He just sucks at it. He can't play, dude.
It's impossible to suck at it. It just clicks.
All right.
Click,
I
click,
tell
click,
you
click,
what, TJ, you can still get Diablo 1. Let's get some copies. We'll set up a multiplayer game, and we'll see what's what.
Yeah, maybe we will.
Oh, damn.
Maybe we will.
We'll see what's what.
We're going to kill the shit out of your character,
I'll
TJ.
pick mage. You like clicking, so you pick the warrior, and we'll just do it.
I'll just click.
Yeah, well, if
I'll
you want
click
the
until
he's
you
definitely
die.
the clickiest. You get the warrior.
I get the clickest.
I'll play the mage, and we'll see what's what.
Uh-huh.
We'll see what happens.
Oh,
We'll see
TJ's
who ends up butt naked in the dungeon.
Yeah, I guess we will. I guess we
Oh,
will,
TJ's going
Paul.
to be naked in that dungeon, dude.
Dude, you would be I would strip you ass naked in the first area of the first dungeon, TJ. I would literally 1v1 you at level 1 with my base spell, kill your dumb ass, loot your fucking robe and your sword, and half your fucking starting gold.
No, Paul, because you know why?
And leave you butt naked in the dungeon.
You know why, Paul? Because
Why?
I'm going to click on you.
Okay.
Click, 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 click.
Good
and
luck.
You're going to die.
Good luck.
I'm gonna click
You're
you
so dead,
until
TJ.
you're dead.
God, you're gonna be fucking dead so quick. In
Oh
that
no,
game.
I don't think so. I don't think
Okay.
so. It's time to establish what's the best. Enough of this yammering bullshit. We've been yammering for fucking 2 hours and 9 minutes.
All
It's
right.
time to decide.
Time to fucking decide.
Number 1, Tetris, obviously.
Wrong.
Obviously,
Wrong.
Tetris.
You might be able to sneak it onto this list, but you ain't getting a number one.
It's number 1. I have
Of
the
all-
controls.
Of all the
Boom.
games, dude.
Number 1.
I
Can't
think-
even argue with
I
it.
think definitely deserves to be on this list. I would say Super Mario World.
Are we talking about what our number one spot is? Or do you
No,
wanna-
no, just
So-
Oh yeah, well,
all right,
Super
so let's
Mario
just-
World.
on the top.
Let's just
10.
figure out what have we
Let's
talked
narrow
about?
it down to 10 first, and then let's order them.
Well, let's everybody say what like some of the ones that they think are gonna like contenders for the top spot. I guess I'll go with Tetris.
Okay, it's for number one. Oh, okay,
Not number
shit.
1, just in the list.
Okay, Super Mario World.
All right, what else?
Final Fantasy VII.
Totally agree with that one.
All right.
Silent Hill.
I think 2 is better. I'm gonna go Silent Hill 2. We'll have that
They ain't
argument in a
both
minute.
ended up on this goddamn list.
We're gonna have an argument about it.
We're having an argument about it.
Yeah, well, I guess we're gonna have an argument about it.
Oh, okay.
So, Legend of Zelda, they said, I agree with Paul. Some of the stuff's just too obscure. Go back through these real quick and see.
I mean, you got to put Mega Man 2 or 3 on there for me.
How do you feel about? I think Earthbound.
All right.
I think Earthbound and Chrono Trigger
Yeah,
deserve an honorable mention here and consideration for the top spot
sure.
for sure.
All right, so Earthbound, Chrono Trigger, and Mega Man. Which Mega Man you think is better between 2 and 3? I like 2, but
I prefer
2.
3, but you can put whichever one you
Yeah,
want.
2 or
It
3.
I'll
doesn't
put
matter.
3 because I put Mega Mind. What the fuck?
Mega Mind.
Yeah.
No, 3's fine. I think they're both really good games.
Yeah. So let's see what else is in here. Donkey Kong Country. Anyone think Donkey Kong Country belongs in there?
I really like it, but I don't think so. I would put Super Mario 64 into contention though.
Yeah. I would
I'll
put
put
Street
it-
Fighter 2 into contention.
Yeah, I think that's a fair one.
All right.
And probably Mortal Kombat 2 as well.
Hold on. Let me do some Turtles in Time. I don't think it's making top 10.
Resident Evil 2.
A lot of 2s. But yeah. Okay.
I mean, if I'm picking between 1 through 3, I'm gonna pick 2.
I almost feel like 3 is maybe better, but
I mean,
but 2 is probably more innovative of the two because, like I said, 3 does recycle a lot of elements, but
that's kind of why I would put 2 over 3.
but it does do a lot of
I
stuff.
mean, the Nemesis thing, that adding that to the story does. I mean, it really enhances the game, but it does recycle some of the old settings.
Scares the shit out of me.
I gotta put Castlevania Symphony of the Night at least in contention here.
Okay.
Fountain?
Oops, that's supposed to be an S.
Sawton.
Sawton. Hail Sawton.
I got to put Diablo on the list. Faux show.
I'm gonna put Diablo. I'd say Diablo 2.
Really, we're gonna have another fight.
Paul's a fucking
I'll see
purist.
Diablo 2. It's probably overall the better game. I just don't have the best memories of it.
Well, fair enough.
I'm putting Zelda Ocarina of Time.
Oh, Paul disagrees. I think it's a pretty good game.
It's one of the
in my opinion.
best games of all time. You're
I got
cool.
some Lincoln Logs for you to play with, kid,
Yeah.
when you're done with that Zelda game.
Let's see. Silent
Let's see.
Hill, Tekken, Twisted Metal, Metal Gear Solid. Paul.
Oh, yeah. You got to put Metal Gear. And it is the best Metal Gear, by the way. Don't let the nerds tell you that there's a better one in the series. The first one
So is there any NES ones we want to put up? So we have Super Mario Brothers. We have Legend of Zelda. So Paul, I'm sure you don't want to put that one up. TJ,
You guys think Doom or Quake or anything like that? is on
Doom?
here?
What Doom 1 or Doom 2?
I mean, they're pretty much the same.
Yeah, I mean,
they're not-
Doom 2, I think.
They're
not
probably the superior Doom game. So,
They're not all that different.
and I'll let that one represent Quake and,
All right,
the
so
others.
let's see how many we got here. Anything else? Anything that is conspicuous in its absence to you here?
when we're talking about all time, I don't think so.
No. I'm pretty happy with
Let's see.
those.
Where's the fuck is? I just need to put a numbered list here.
Put a fucking numbered list there, TJ. Piece of shit. Oh shit, TJ, what did you do?
I don't know.
TJ sucks. TJ
I can't
sucks.
Look at what
See
you
the
did,
num-
TJ.
I can't see where the numbered list is.
TJ, you destroyed everything. Everything's dead now,
It's fucking
TJ.
shit. Okay, there we
TJ,
go.
what are you doing?
I
Are
don't
you
know.
TJ, are you okay?
TJ, are you okay? Are you okay, TJ?
So we
Even
gotta
this,
cut 8 of these bitches.
so 8 of these don't belong. What's got to go?
Tetris.
No.
First
Tetris,
cut
Tetris ain't
Tetris.
going. Tetris ain't going.
Tetris is gone.
Tetris
bitch.
is making this list.
No,
Fuck
it's
you.
not.
Yeah, it
Bye,
is.
Tetris.
No.
See you later, Tetris.
Greatest game of all time. It should be number 1.
Tetris
In an
gone.
honest list to be
Gone.
number 1, but
I like Tetris, TJ, but it's gone.
no, it's not.
It's gone.
No, it's not.
Get Tetris out of my face.
Puzzle
TJ.
games deserve a representation on this fucking list.
Okay.
There's a lot of games on this list that have
All right,
puzzle
TJ,
elements.
number
to them.
10. It can be number 10.
I don't know. Well, fucking. Pick
Oh,
all right, let's have the Silent Hill fucking fight. Silent Hill 2 is better than 1.
All right, that's fine.
All right. Well,
Yeah,
that's much,
that's
that
fine.
wasn't
Yeah,
much
I'm
of a
fine with-
fight, but whatever.
I don't well because I'm happy the franchise is still being represented, so I don't really care.
You can get rid of Diablo 1 too. I'm not gonna fight that.
All right, Diablo 2 it is.
Diablo 2 is the
Gotta get rid of
bigger,
6 here.
better game.
Gotta get rid of 6 of
Six
these.
more Tetris.
I mean, really, Diablo 2 doesn't even belong here either.
Oh,
but
bullshit,
I know both of
Tetris.
you guys are gonna fight me on that.
Dude,
so whatever.
Tetris needs to go, TJ. Come on, compared to fucking Diablo 2, Final Fantasy 7, Resident Evil 2, Mortal Kombat 2, Street Fighter 2, Super Mario 64, Super Mario World, TJ, come on, dude. You know it's bullshit.
This is a stupid fucking game for empty-headed morons who can't play real games. It does not belong on this list. Get rid of it really quick.
All right, you know what? I will get rid of it, but only because the Nintendo version that we looked at is not the best version.
Fair
So,
enough.
Whatever you got to
Newer
tell yourself
versions-
to take the L, TJ.
Newer versions are better, so I guess Tetris. Can
Whatever
go.
you got to tell yourself to take the ego sting.
You know,
is
one of these
fine.
days I'm gonna throw a Tetris block on your fucking head, Paul.
Please,
You're gonna
hey,
die.
I'm
You're gonna die.
any fucking time, bro.
Anytime,
Anytime you want to throw a Tetris block at me, you go right ahead and do
Yeah,
it.
we gotta cut 5 more of these.
All
Fucking,
right.
This is fucking tough, dude. I don't want to cut any of them.
Diablo 2 should go.
No, fuck no.
All right.
It's not gonna go.
No fucking way, dude. Diablo's
Fine.
not
Just
going.
because you didn't play it doesn't mean it doesn't have a place on this list, TJ. Mm-hmm. It's not
won't say it's
apparently
number
on the
one.
face of it sucky like Tetris. You know what I mean? You can't poke holes in Diablo 2.
Man, if I was playing this game, if I was doing this with some real intellectuals, Tetris would have just been easily
Oh yeah, okay.
given the red
Okay.
carpet to
Here
number
comes
1.
problem number 2. The only smart game that ever existed is Tetris. Get out of here,
Tetris is the only intelligent game on this list.
you little nerd.
Whatever.
What a schoolboy
The
you are,
only
TJ.
fucking one maybe you can play, TJ. Maybe
Maybe
that's the one I'm. Dude, that's of all this on this list, TJ.
Whatever. I'll fuck you
I don't know
both
if you-
up in Street Fighter 2 just using the same fucking move, and I've
Oh
done
wait,
it before.
hold on. We got to put that
Blah, blah,
wood.
blah, 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 blah.
Yeah, you're E Honda spam, dude.
I'll
We
just
gotta
spam
make
Honda
sure-
until I fucking win, and you know I will.
We got to
I know
make
you
sure
will.
that TJ's represented on this list. So let's put one of those wood blocks with the different shaped holes, and then you got to find the circle and put it in the circle hole, and find the star and put it in the star hole.
What the fuck are you talking about?
Let's put whack-a-mole on the list for TJ. The lowest skill game where you just got to hit the thing that sits there for 3 seconds.
Pop goes the weasel.
Get
Hang
outta
on,
here.
TJ.
Whack-a-mole might belong on this list now that I think
Those
about it.
whack-a-mole belong on the top 10
Duck
games.
Hunt.
Yeah, Duck Hunt.
You
dude.
know,
Let's put it
Duck
on.
Hunt was kind of fun. Whatever.
Duck Hunt was the dude. Everybody I know cheated at Duck Hunt.
Oh,
They
yeah,
put the
you get
gun
right next
on
to
the
it, yeah.
screen.
It's a little too easy to cheat. The fucked up thing was when you cheated and still it didn't. It just missed.
Hey, it
anyway.
happens, dude.
Yeah, it's like fuck you, Nintendo. I was right on that duck. I shot that motherfucker
All right,
point blank
so we
range.
gotta make a cut here.
If you had to pick right now, Super Mario 64 or Super Mario World,
I'd play. I mean, I think World has more replay value
Yeah,
for me.
I'd have to say World.
I like World better too. So maybe we can get rid of 64.
All right, bye 64. Revolutionary, but not quite good enough to
So
make our
4
list.
more cuts. Let's see. How do you feel about? Oh man, this is tough. Earthbound and Chrono Trigger are kind of similar, kind of games, and that can represent a similar terrain. Same thing with Street Fighter 2 and MK2.
Yeah, you got 2 fighting games. Well, you got 2 fighting games there.
I mean, because it was
You
so
got 2 RPGs
multi-platform
there.
and shit, I will get rid of Mortal Kombat 2 in favor of Street Fighter 2.
I'm fine with that, honestly.
I was way more hyped for Street
I
Fighter
mean,
2.
really,
I
Street
think-
Fighter
on the
2,
console.
Street
It
Fighter
was-
2, especially the later like Turbo Edition and all that shit was.
It was the dominant.
They were
fucking
better
gameplay.
games than Mortal Kombat. Mortal Kombat just had the blood. I mean, let's be real.
Yeah,
Right.
I agree with you.
I mean, it was still solid gameplay, but the blood was really what
It's
was
what sold
attractive about
people,
it.
yeah.
So I mean, like,
and
let's,
the gore.
let's go with the more solid overall game. So that will give us. We gotta still cut 3 of these. Fuckers.
Let's get rid of Frustratavania bitch tits of the night.
Man,
Get it off this list.
Oh shit, TJ.
man. Just because this is another game that just because you haven't fucking played it, you ain't
That's right.
personally feel the game.
When was that rule established?
You know,
When was
you
that rule
said-
established?
You said
I
that
never
about
said that.
Diablo.
I never said
ain't
that.
never played no
I never
Diablo.
said that. I never said that.
How have you never played Diablo? You played
never said it.
Diablo.
I played the original Diablo like 3 times.
You sucked at it though.
I did not. I mean, it was a fucking boring ass game.
It's not a boring ass fucking game.
It's a boring fucking game.
Garbage, TJ.
Strip you butt naked and leave you in the
I also
dungeon
like
alone,
Castlevania
TJ.
Symphony of the Night, but is it top 10, TJ? Is it top 10 going up against these other ones?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So what else would you cut in its place?
Diablo 2.
I mean, obviously, I would.
Diablo 2.
I would cut Diablo 2, yeah. I'd probably cut Metal
What?
Gear Solid because I don't really give a fuck about that game.
Oh, shit. It's going to be a battle.
I'd probably cut Doom 2 because I never really gave a fuck about those
No,
games.
fuck you. You're not cutting Doom 2, man. You out of your fucking mind,
You have
TJ?
shit taste.
You
TJ's
would
got
cut
the worst
Doom
taste
2?
in games.
Well, you got to contend with me, so make a decision.
I say we cut.
I ain't cutting Symphony of the Night. I'll fight to the death.
What if we let
To
you
the
bring
death.
Tetris
Damn,
back
dude.
No.
and you could replace Symphony of the
Oh,
Night
man,
with Tetris?
I don't know what the fuck we cut from this fucking list.
It could be just top 13. Top 13.
I don't know, man. No,
I mean,
we gotta
I've
get
got
to
some ones that I'm not personally all that connected to that I know you guys are just going to fight too hard for. Like I
feel that way about everyone here,
I could
though.
give a fuck about Zelda. So if you guys cut that right now, I'd say we were at 12, pretty easy. Zelda
TJ.
Ocarina of Time. It's a good game, but it ain't the best game of all
TJ, are
time.
you willing to cut that? What do you think? No, it's...
And I fully admit it's because I didn't play much of it.
All
no
right,
way we're cutting
you
Diablo
know,
2.
I mean,
There's no way Diablo 2 is getting cut, TJ.
I mean, I like Symphony of the Night better than I like Ocarina of Time, and I did fight for Symphony of the Night, so I think it's fair that I let go.
all right, you got.
I like Earthbound, but for me it doesn't,
Oh.
especially if you're stacking it up against Chrono Trigger, that to me is
shit.
easily the best representation of a fucking
Man.
Super Nintendo RPG.
I don't know if I feel
It
that
really,
opinion at all.
it would suck to cut Earthbound, but I mean, let me think here. I've literally played those games to completion, both of them, probably 3 or 4 times a piece. I really love both those games, but they're both representing the RPG thing.
That's what I'm
so-
saying. Yeah, so it's very difficult to say which one we would cut and which one we wouldn't cut. I mean, Paul, obviously you're on the side of Chrono Trigger.
Yeah, I'd say keep Chrono Trigger.
Another, we have to
ditch
realize that
Earthbound.
Final Fantasy VII is also repping the RPGs here.
Yeah,
well, not on this console though.
Right.
Yeah, I think if one of them has to, oh man, it's fucking tough.
And they're totally,
What would you like? What if you had to play? Like, if you had to erase one of these from existence forever, Scotty? Earthbound or Chrono Trigger? You can never play it again. You have to erase it from existence. What you gonna choose?
So here's my thinking on it. I think I think you have to take the weight of what had the greater impact. If it all fails and I'm kind of at odds, and I have to say it, I have to cut Earthbound. It's fucking tough, and I think it's very close. But I think Earthbound is more of a little more niche than Chrono Trigger is.
And with that, Earthbound fell. And remember, it was Scotty who killed it, not me.
And now we cut Castlevania Symphony
No.
of the Night, and we're
No.
at 10.
Metal Gear Solid.
No,
It's not.
shit.
It's not on that level. It
I'm
just ain't
sorry,
on the level.
but no, dude.
It ain't on the level, dude.
And you know what, dude? You should, just because you haven't fucked around with Metal Gear, you would love Metal Gear's storyline and its portrayal of characters. It's very like Tarantino-ish to me. These over-the-top, colorful characters.
It's not
that-
fast. It's not super fast paced. I mean, there's moments of like that, but yeah, a lot of it's.
You gave it a
strategy.
chance, you wouldn't be arguing for it to get the fuck out of here.
But Symphony of the Night is a very expansive game in itself, and I mean, like, and is commonly rated as one of the top games of all time as well. So I mean, they both are. They're both. I feel like they're both on equal footing. So
Symphony
it's
of
really
the
hard.
Night is expansive in the same way my bowels are expansive
Oh,
relative to the
same,
amount of
it's
hamburgers
diarrhea.
I eat.
Oh, damn, Paul, come on.
Just a big, runny, soupy shit of a game.
And Metal Gear Solid is only solid in as much as my shits are solid, which is not rare, not often. So,
Spraying that
all
toilet.
right, I'll tell you what. I'll tell you what about Metal Gear Solid. I'll be honest with you. I don't get it. I didn't get it at the time. I don't get it now.
Look, I just don't get it.
I liked the whole bust in and guns a-blazing thing. I didn't like
like
the
Commando,
espionage
yeah,
element.
yeah.
I don't like the fucking sneaking around.
You like that, dude? You don't want like the let me stick around here, guys.
Fuck that. I'm Rambo. Let me go. I'm like, I have to sneak around in real life if I was in that situation. I don't want to be a coward that's hiding behind shit. I want to
Just
be
let
out
me-
there with guns a-blazing.
Let me stack boxes on top of other boxes.
You already killed Tetris. What the fuck is your
Give me
you're still
guns,
going
let
at
me
that?
shoot. You're like the caveman of video gaming.
Maybe
All
I
right,
am.
yeah, what would you cut here?
What would I cut?
Excluding Diablo 2. We already know Diablo 2 ain't going.
He's already said Metal Gear.
Yeah, man. I champion Metal Gear.
If we're not going to let him touch Diablo 2, he's going with Metal Gear.
All right.
So here's how I see the list now, 'cause we're one away.
You know, I mean, let's be honest.
Super
here.
Mario World, we're not cutting. Street Fighter 2, we're not cutting. Resident Evil 2, are we going to cut that? I think Survival World is too important to us. I don't think I can cut it.
You definitely you can't cut Final Fantasy
Over
7.
my dead fucking body, are we cutting that?
Well, you know what? Silent Hill and Resident Evil 2 are kind of similar
Yeah, I mean,
games
it
on a
could be one
similar
of those.
system.
Yeah, let's put them head to head.
I mean, I've got my favorite of the two easily.
Silent Hill 2 is
Resident Evil 2 is my pick.
Silent Hill 2 is a scary ass game, but honestly, when it comes to just like pure fun factor and replay value and all that
Resident Evil 2,
shit,
man.
I think Resident Evil 2 is better.
Cut Silent Hill, man. We
Bye,
love you.
Silent
We
Hill.
love you. You're number 11
All
in our
right,
hearts,
we've
but-
done it. We narrowed it down to 10. Now we just got to figure out the order.
Metal Gear Solid number 1.
No. Too
no,
contentious.
No,
Too contentious.
no.
What? All right.
No.
Let me just. I know there's some disagreements on some of this stuff. So what's the ones we all agree are great games?
Final Fantasy 7.
So let's just go. Let me just ask you this. Does everyone agree that Super Mario World is a great game?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Does everyone agree Street Fighter 2 is a great game?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Does everyone agree Resident Evil 2 is a great game?
Yes.
Yes.
Final Fantasy 7?
Yes.
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 Chrono Trigger?
Yes.
Mega Man 3?
Yes.
I like it, but I wouldn't. I don't know if it's.
All right, so Scotty's not as much on that one. Symphony of the Night, I know I'm the fucking champion of that. What do you think, Scotty?
It's a good game.
You think good, so you don't think it's great.
I could give it or take it.
All right. Diablo 2?
Yes.
Great game.
No.
Yes.
What?
Metal Gear Solid?
Yes.
No.
Good game.
No. Doom 2?
Yes.
Great fucking game.
Good game. Not great.
Fuck you, TJ.
Not great.
Fuck you get off saying Doom 2 is just a fucking good game, man. You don't know fucking shit about fucking Doom. You're saying,
Whatever. You know, it's fun. It's a little amusing distraction.
Why don't you go
for a
stack
minute.
some fucking blocks with the kindergartners, TJ?
Oh, we're gonna reuse the Paul's insult. Go put that in the microwave for a minute.
I will, bitch, and I'll come back and fucking burn your goddamn worthless fucking mouth, TJ, with your fucking shit goddamn choices.
I don't care. I don't give a fuck. You see me here giving a fuck? No. You don't. You don't. So what do we all agree on?
I mean, starting from the bottom for me, I'd be willing to cede Mega Man 3 for number 10.
I'm fine with that. I put that there.
It's a great game, and complexity does not a great game make, but there are so many games on this list that did so much more than Mega Man 3 does that I'm willing to just let it have its spot on the list as number 10.
I'll just to avoid contentiousness, I'll let Symphony of the Night be number 2.
Hey, okay. I got no problem with that. I think that's a good spot for it on the list.
Yeah.
I think it should be number 10.
I mean, I'd
Paul's being.
I'll go that way. I'll go that way. No, I'll be gracious about it. I will. I'll
like it.
I'll let it happen.
All right, fair enough.
I got it on the list.
Oh shit! Okay.
I championed it enough to get it on the list. I'm satisfied.
His knee to Paul.
I'm satisfied with
What
that.
a gregarious move you've pulled
Yeah,
here,
there you
TJ.
go. So, let's see.
Ooh. Number.
I think
8.
Doom 2.
Yeah,
I think
all
Doom
right.
2
All right.
here.
Yeah,
Okay.
I'm fine with Doom 2 being
Fair
number
enough.
8. Respectable place on the list. Right.
See, now I'm feeling like this is right around where Diablo 2 and Metal Gear Solid belong, if anywhere.
I'm thinking more Street Fighter 2, maybe.
I don't know.
I
Street
don't
Fighter
know.
2 would be higher on my
I
list.
feel like Street Fighter 2 needs to be.
It's better than a fucking.
It's got to be a top 5.
It's better
in my
than a
opinion.
7.
Okay,
or a 6.
the other one I was looking at was probably then Resident Evil 2.
I mean, I'd be fine with it here, but I'd also be fine for Metal Gear to be in this spot, honestly.
Okay.
All right, I'll do it then.
I thought there'd be more of a battle for that, but
No.
if you're
I'll put Resident Evil 2 afterwards.
yeah, I think that's a fair place before it.
Okay.
Then I'm kind of a mind at that point. Then maybe Street Fighter.
So now we
there.
got top 5 up here. So what order do these 5 go in?
Because I think Paul. So Paul, if you're not arguing Street Fighter's number, so are you saying the Street Fighter's top 3 for you?
Probably not. I got to be honest with you. The two that I'm real defensive of as possibles for the best of all time, or at least real high on the list, are Diablo 2 and Final Fantasy 7 at this
Well,
point.
I mean, you're actually in lockstep with that then.
Because those two, for me, just, I don't know, even against the Titans.
I also agree. Final Fantasy 7 is number 1.
All right, well, let's make it number 1 then.
Yeah, I agree.
So
with
let's
being
just
number
give it. Let's concede that slot.
one. So number 1 is gonna be Final Fantasy 7.
So.
And I'd be fine with Street Fighter 2 landing somewhere next, to be honest with you.
At number 5,
At number 5, yeah. I
that's
don't think
fair.
we're sliding it at that.
it's top 5 at that point. I mean,
Yeah.
You know.
Tough. I would probably want to say...
I feel like Street Fighter 2 is probably a better game than Chrono Trigger. I mean, for its genre.
I don't know if I agree.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't...
Well, I'll put it here.
I would say, looking at this, probably Super Mario World.
You think it belongs above, higher than Chrono Trigger or lower?
Lower.
After
Lower?
Chrono Trigger on the list.
Well, I mean, like lower in terms of...
Like Street Fighter 2, then Super Mario World, then Chrono Trigger.
Okay. Do you agree with that, Paul?
Yeah, I'm fine with that. That's where I would put it.
Then we have Chrono Trigger, then...
Well, that's
obviously,
it.
Diablo 2.
Diablo 2.
Yep.
Diablo 2 is the number 2 game of all time, and we got a list.
Yes,
What
dude.
a miscarriage
Well,
of
make an
justice.
argument, TJ.
I've never played it, so I don't know.
Here, that's your fault.
Yeah, I guess so. All right. Well, let me make sure we got them all here. So 10,
Yeah, then we'll read them out once you've...
9,
8.
8. Motherfucker. I wish there was like a reverse. There might be. I don't know it. Ugh, why do I keep pressing the damn slash? 6.
5.
It's fucking manually doing this shit.
That's all right, dude.
4. I'm just going to stop with the
3.
fucking periods. 2, 1. All right. So the list is number 10, Castlevania. These are the top 10 classic video games. What were the years, Scotty?
From 1980 to 2005.
Okay. Number 10, Castlevania Symphony of the Night. Number 9, Mega Man 3. Number 8, Doom 2. Number 7, Metal Gear Solid. Number 6, Resident Evil 2. Number 5, Street Fighter 2. Number 4, Super Mario World. Number 3, Chrono Trigger. Number 2, Diablo 2. And number 1, unanimously agreed upon by everyone here, Final Fantasy VII. Probably the least contentious entry in all of the list.
Yep.
Yeah, I don't think there's any argument.
And I think that kind of speaks to its power, honestly. The fact that even among this contentious lot that have obviously very different tastes, everyone agrees Final Fantasy VII is a fucking masterpiece.
It is, undoubtedly,
No,
unquestionably.
it really is. You can't say enough about it.
When we went over on the list, I'm like, this is my number. I already knew it was my number 1.
Yeah.
So if you're not playing Final Fantasy VII right now, go play it.
Well, there is a remake.
Or wait for the remake if you want.
Yeah, wait for the fucking remake.
But it might take a while. I heard it was delayed.
It's probably going to take a long time.
So thank you guys for watching. Hope you enjoyed. See you next time with more Deep Fat Fry.
And we look forward to being told how this list is totally wrong.
Yes, we look forward to your admonitions below.
Yes.
And all of the... You fucking forgot!
And of course, give us your top 10 if you don't agree with
you can
this
make your
one.
own list down below.
Make your own fucking list.
You don't have to argue
agree.
with 2 people that don't agree with you. So you should be easier on you.
Yeah.
Get with 2 of your friends and fucking make this list. That's your real fucking challenge.
Yeah, that's your fucking homework.